the zombie emperor in American comics. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 301 Captain Marvel, Part 2. In the Wakanda Palace, everyone was excitedly discussing the upcoming interstellar war, their eyes constantly flicking to the 3D projection in the palace's center. Here it comes, here it comes. Emma suddenly let out a faint cry of excitement. Everyone's attention was immediately focused on the 3D projection in the palace's center. Amidst the vast starry sky, several black holes suddenly appeared, and from them, a fleet of high-tech spaceships leaped out. These spaceships were enormous, predominantly black, exuding an unparalleled sense of technology. Dots of orange light dotted around their bodies, like ferocious gun barrels. Wow, are these Kree Empire spaceships? Truly, Howard marveled, unable to express his excitement. His eyes seemed almost drawn to the spaceships. Although the others weren't as excited as Howard, they were all captivated by the spaceships, marveling at their sheer power. At that moment, the guns of one of the space battleships spewed out missile after missile, hurtling towards Earth. Each missile, as massive as several-story buildings, was pitch black, dotted with dark green luminescence forming mysterious runes. With long, trailing flames, it instantly pierced the atmosphere. At that moment, even in a three-dimensional projection, everyone could feel the oppressive weight of the impact, stunned beyond measure, and momentarily lost their minds. Everyone knew that if no one could stop these missiles and they were allowed to blast down, Earth would be plunged into unimaginable devastation. While everyone was in Wakanda, protected by an energy shield and, at worst, could travel to other worlds with Wang Yunxiao, they didn't need to worry about their own well-being. Earth was their foundation, and no one wanted to see it plunged into such devastation. Unfortunately, they could only watch helplessly, completely powerless. Even with Wakanda's technological prowess, it wouldn't have much resistance against an attack of this magnitude, let alone others. As for individual combat power, its impact in this situation was minimal. Not to mention everyone present, perhaps even the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, wouldn't have a good solution. At this point, who else could save Earth from this crisis? Everyone instinctively glanced at Wang Yunxiao, and seeing his calm demeanor, they felt a sense of relief. They returned their gaze to the projection, watching the unfolding situation. The next moment, everyone was utterly stunned by the scene on the projection. A figure enveloped in blue-red flames burst through the air, blocking the path of the leading missile. It was none other than Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Carol resolutely held the tip of the missile, her body forced back repeatedly by the immense force. The sheer size of the two was completely disproportionate. The blue-red flames surrounding Carol grew increasingly intense, finally forcibly halting the missile's descent. Furthermore, she lifted the missile and sent it careening back. Boom! 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 The earth-shaking explosions resounded throughout the heavens and earth. Earthquakes, flash floods, tsunamis, just the aftermath of the explosions unleashed countless devastating disasters on Earth. This day will surely go down in human history, one day to be known as Doomsday. It was also the day that made governments around the world realize the immense pressure from outer space. But that was all. Given humanity's inherent selfishness, how many people could truly put aside their past grudges and work together for the development of Earth? Even the general public would be kept in the dark, completely unaware of what truly transpired that day. Carol soared into the sky, instantly piercing the atmosphere and wading into the vast starry sky, blocking the path directly before Ronan the Accuser's fleet. Ronan, having his plan ruined, naturally refused to let it go. At his command, countless space fighters launched from the same spaceship. Carol, however, remained unfazed. Facing the energy cannons, she charged directly into the swarm, deftly weaving in and out of them, engaging them in a fierce battle. Boom! Amidst a violent explosion, a space fighter was struck by Carol's photon energy cannon, instantly shattering it. Bang! Carol was accidentally struck by the space fighter's energy and sent flying. However, the cannon's power couldn't penetrate the blue-red flames lingering around her body, causing her no harm at all. Boom! 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 Completely free of worries, Carol fought with increasing courage, completely ignoring the energy cannons that fell on her, intent on destroying the space fighters as quickly as possible. Boom. 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 In the end, Carol even pierced through the middle of the space battleship, completely destroying it. As Carol stood awe-inspiringly before the fleet's main ship, Ronan was forced to order a retreat. He knew that even if he continued fighting, his entire force would be annihilated. The next moment, all the space battleships escaped Earth through a wormhole, leaving the outer space far behind. This battle would undoubtedly be widely publicized throughout the universe. No cosmic force would dare to attack Earth until they knew Carol's true strength. After all, Commander Ronan and his fleet were no simple figures, their notoriety known throughout the universe. Too powerful, too incredible, even Selene, known for her calmness and vast knowledge, could not help but marvel at Carol's might. For a moment, everyone in the Wakanda palace looked at each other in astonishment, stunned by Carol's power. Even Wang Yunxiao was no exception. At least, he was far from being able to reach this level right now. Is this a Godfather-level powerhouse? Selena asked quietly after a long while. At the same time, she was silently thinking that she was already a second-generation zombie, a mutated second-generation zombie, and she just didn't know how far she was from the Godfather level. More than that. This is a single universe-level powerhouse. Wang Yunxiao let out a long breath and spoke word by word. Single universe level? Ada Wang asked curiously. It was the first time they heard that there was a stronger existence above the Godfather level. Yes, the Godfather level is just the beginning. In the vast universe, there are many more powerful ones. Wang Yunxiao sighed silently, but his eyes flashed with an inexplicable brilliance. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 302 Goodbye Lilith. Ultimately, Captain Marvel Carol Danvers left Earth, escorting the Skrull refugees, led by Talos, to a new home in the vast universe, beyond the reach of the Kree Empire. While Carol's act was undoubtedly noble, it also drew criticism. She abandoned the planet that gave her life and nurtured her to help outsiders. Otherwise, with Carol's power as a single cosmic powerhouse, protecting Earth, who would dare to provoke it again? Even in the future, should Thanos ever again consider his ambitions, he would have to think twice. Wang Yunxiao, however, welcomed the prospect. The idea of such a powerful deity, particularly one who meddles in other people's affairs, would only serve to irritate him. Regardless, the Captain Marvel incident was now a thing of the past. Wang Yunxiao imagined a period of relaxation, even considering seeking a new dimension. Unexpectedly, new trouble soon arose, truly giving him no peace of mind. Deep in the boundless Syrian desert lies a towering mausoleum. Unlike the world-renowned ruins of Palmyra, this site remains unexplored, its entire structure imbued with the aura of time. This is due to the many ominous rumors surrounding the mausoleum, which has seldom attracted visitors. But today, the mausoleum welcomed an unexpected visitor. Two Apache attack helicopters landed smoothly in front of the mausoleum. 4 fully armed personnel disembarked, ascended a long staircase, and without delay entered the mausoleum's interior. The 4 men looked strange, heavily armored, leaving no exposed part of their bodies, and their heads covered with fully enclosed helmets. One of them pulled out an instrument, examined it, and, as if finally confirming something, bent down and moved a large stone brick from the ground in front of them. Wow, this man was incredibly strong. Judging by the size of the bricks, they must have weighed over 100 pounds, yet he lifted them with ease, as if he were picking up a small pebble. Boom! Amidst a series of dull thuds, the ground before the 4 men collapsed, revealing a bottomless pit. Unfazed by this, the 4 men plunged down into the pit without hesitation. Only when they reached the bottom did they remove their helmets, revealing their true appearances. 1 woman and 3 men, their sharp fangs clearly revealing them to be vampires. No wonder they were so tightly clad. The 4 men split up and carefully searched for something, finally discovering something near a wall. What the hell is this? A male vampire asked curiously. It's cuneiform. 4,000 years old, the female vampire said without turning back, her eyes completely captivated by the cuneiform writing before her. Why are we here? Another unusually tall and muscular golden-haired male vampire couldn't help but ask. Because this is the cradle of our vampire civilization. This could very well be where he rests, the female vampire said excitedly. It seemed she was the leader of the 4. Where is he, Dan? It looks like another dead end here, the last male vampire complained after a thorough search. From what he said, It seemed they had already searched many ancient ruins like this. "We have something down there." Before the vampire could finish his words, the first male suddenly exclaimed. In his hand was a small detector. "Found it." Hearing this, the other 3 vampires immediately gathered around, their faces lit with ecstasy. However, before the 4 could move, the ground between them collapsed rapidly, like an hourglass. The male vampire holding the detector couldn't help but bend down to investigate, but a hand suddenly emerged from the ground, grabbed his hair, and pulled him into the collapse. The other 3 vampires quickly pulled the vampire out, only to find a headless corpse, a pool of blood gushing out. The vampire's entire body then burst into flames, completely reduced to ash in the blink of an eye. "Damn it! What's going on?" The golden-haired male vampire immediately jumped aside in terror, screaming. This was the first time he had witnessed such a bizarre scene. The other male vampire was not much better off than the golden-haired male. He panicked and stepped backward, but missed a step and fell to the ground. Roar! With an angry roar, the armored hand reached out again, followed by another, and then a monster, like a mummy, completely clad in steel armor, leaped into view of the 3. "Who is it? You disturbed my slumber." Roar! The armored corpse growled angrily, striding towards the slumped male vampire. As the golden-haired male watched in horror, it bit him on the neck. The next moment, the slumped male vampire, like the previous one, burst into flames, instantly reduced to ash. "No! Don't come over here," the golden-haired male vampire, completely terrified, cried out incessantly. However, the entire time, the female vampire stared at the armored corpse with a beaming smile, her eyes filled with unconcealed excitement and madness. At the Wakanda Palace, Wang Yunxiao, with nothing else to do, planned to talk to Best about life events, but before he could act, Selena called him to the Vampire Council. "Dear, did you miss me?" Wang Yunxiao's mischievous tone reached him before the other person arrived, but it suddenly stopped. "Why are you here?" The next moment, Wang Yunxiao looked in surprise at the woman not far away, who was staring at him coldly. Although the woman's current appearance was completely different from what he had seen before, Wang Yunxiao could still confirm from her aura that she was Lilith Dracula, the true princess of the vampire clan who had tricked both him and Selena. "I said I would come back to you and return that punch," Lilith said in a sly tone, a flash of shame and anger in her eyes. Clearly, she was recalling the humiliating moment. "Are you sure? You're asking for it?" Before Wang Yunxiao could respond, Selena's teasing words rang in their ears. Today's 4th update is here. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 303 Annoyance and Shame? Selena, Lilith glared at Selena in disapproval. Wang Yunxiao was stunned again. When had the 2 women become so close? His eyes unconsciously darted between them. "Honey, could you please hold back a bit? You're practically fixated on Lilith," Selena said with a slight roll of her eyes, then smiled again. Ahem. Wang Yunxiao quickly coughed twice, quickly retracting his gaze from the 2. "Honey, I've brought Lilith to you. How are you going to thank me?" Selena, however, wasn't ready to let Wang Yunxiao go, and of course, Lilith herself too, and continued teasing. Selena, I'm going to kill you." Lilith's pretty face flushed slightly, and she screamed in embarrassment, lunging at Selena. In an instant, the 2 of them were in a playful tangle, a scene so spectacular that Wang Yunxiao's eyes nearly popped out of his head. It was truly a sight to behold. Unfortunately, Lilith quickly realized the presence of the lecherous Wang Yunxiao and quickly stopped her playful banter with Selena, a seductive blush spreading across her cheeks. The beauty's shyness only made Wang Yunxiao unable to look away. It was at that moment that he secretly resolved to include Lilith in his harem. "Alright, you 2 can sort out your affairs later. For now, let's get down to business," Selena teased Wang Yunxiao and Lilith again before finally turning serious. Hearing this, Lilith's embarrassment faded, her expression becoming exceedingly serious. Seeing this, Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but wonder, a vague suspicion forming. Perhaps the only person in this world who could command such respect from Lilith, to the point of going after this enemy, was the Vampire King, Vlad Tepes Dracula. "Dracula has awakened," Lilith said, her voice heavy and measured, the deep hatred in her eyes unconcealable. Thousands of years had passed, and she could no longer tell whether this was due to her mother's hatred or the curse. "Are you sure?" Wang Yunxiao raised an eyebrow, his questioning unsettling despite his suspicions. It wasn't that Wang Yunxiao didn't believe her, But if he remembered correctly, in the original storyline, Dracula's awakening was orchestrated by American vampires to combat Blade. But now Blade was ensconced in Charles's experiment, and the entire North American Vampire Council was firmly under Selina's control. Who had awakened Dracula? Could it be? Thinking of this, Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but glance at Lilith again. This has nothing to do with me. Lilith, seeing the suspicion in Wang Yunxiao's eyes, shook her head in denial. Because of the curse, I'll be able to sense Dracula's awakening the moment he emerges from his slumber. After a slight hesitation, Lilith explained further. Sorry, Wang Yunxiao nodded apologetically. It's okay. The most important thing now is how we kill him. Lilith's expression grew increasingly serious. Although she desperately wanted to kill Dracula, she had to admit that he was far more powerful than she was. However, she had absolutely no chance of killing him on her own. Otherwise, she wouldn't have turned to that despicable Wang Yunxiao for help. As the Lord of Vampires, Dracula possessed not only superhuman strength, speed, endurance, and reflexes, but also immortality and immunity to all vampire weaknesses, even to sunlight. Furthermore, Dracula possessed the abilities of hypnosis, vaporization, shape-shifting, summoning clouds and rain, lightning, and the ability to transform into a bat, wolf, werewolf, or even a half-man-bat monster. Most importantly, Dracula possesses extraordinary regenerative abilities. Physical attacks are largely ineffective against him, and even if damaged, he can rapidly regenerate damaged tissue. It's said that he possesses an immortality that even gods cannot kill. Perhaps you don't know, but the blood god summoning ritual was originally developed by Dracula's mortal enemy. So, the blood god is Dracula's natural enemy. Lilith didn't finish her words, but the meaning was clear. Oh? Really? Wang Yunxiao remained expressionless, simply staring at Lilith. Wanting to use him to kill Dracula, how could he not pay a price? You're such a scoundrel. Lilith, clearly able to discern Wang Yunxiao's intentions, cursed him bitterly. As long as you can help me kill Dracula, I'm willing to pay any price. A brief silence followed, and Lilith's expression shifted continuously. Ultimately, her determination to kill Dracula took over, and she spoke resolutely. However, Lilith didn't know that even without her, Wang Yunxiao wouldn't let Dracula go. He was counting on Dracula's blood to help Selina complete her transformation. Sister Lilith, you've been fooled, but Wang Yunxiao was speechless when Selina bluntly exposed his sinister intentions. You're kidding me? Lilith glared at Wang Yunxiao with humiliation, her eyes blazing with anger. I didn't, you said it all along. Wang Yunxiao wouldn't admit it, but the wicked smile on his face only fueled Lilith's rage. Yes, Sister Lilith, it seems you really did bring this upon yourself. Not only that, Selina added fuel to the fire. Wang Yunxiao was completely speechless. He couldn't understand what had happened to Selina today. Not only had she become incredibly close to Lilith, but she was constantly stirring up trouble, as if she was afraid a fight wouldn't break out between him and Lilith. Damn it! I'm going to kill you. Lilith, overcome with shame and indignation, threw herself at Wang Yunxiao, completely oblivious to the vast difference between them. Wang Yunxiao dodged Lilith's attack with a simple flick of his body. But Lilith wasn't ready to give up, and her attacks continued. This moment wasn't the playful banter she'd been playing with Selina. She was determined to teach Wang Yunxiao a lesson. Hey, are you serious? Wang Yunxiao dodged, feigning a shrill cry. Seeing Wang Yunxiao's demeanor, Lilith became even more furious, and her attacks became even more ruthless, each one aiming for Wang Yunxiao's vital points. However, the gap between them was too vast. Despite Lilith's ferocious attacks, she couldn't even touch the edge of Wang Yunxiao's clothes. Let me go. In the end, Lilith couldn't even react, and Wang Yunxiao grabbed her in his arms, her pretty face flushing. I just don't know if this is out of anger or shame. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304, Passionate. Wang Yunxiao and Lilith were the only two left in the room. As for Selina, she had quietly retreated at some point, leaving them alone. In fact, for some time now, not only Wang Yunxiao had been considering whether to find a helper for Selina, Selina herself had been thinking about it as well. Witnessing the unstoppable power of Captain Marvel Carol Danvers firsthand, not only Selina but the other women were energized. Despite their busy schedules, they were all determined to take time out from their busy schedules to improve their abilities. Selina alone had to support the entire North American Vampire Council, and with a daily grind of tasks, she had very little time to spare. Looking at the other women, each one worked in pairs, which only made her more eager to find a helper. She was naturally competitive and didn't want to be left behind. Unexpectedly, Lilith Dracula suddenly visited her today. After a brief exchange, Selina had an idea. Lilith's assistant seemed like a good option. Furthermore, Lilith had brought news of the Vampire King, Vlad Tepes Dracula, awakening from his slumber, which only further strengthened Selina's affection for her. The reason was simple. Selina had heard Wang Yunxiao say that Dracula's blood would soon be the key to her complete transformation. After the mutation, her zombie bloodline would likely reach the level of a zombie king. This, already eager to increase her strength, was a strong incentive for her. As for how to make Lilith her assistant, that was even simpler. Selina's solution was to make her close friend. Wang Yunxiao certainly wouldn't refuse such a good offer, which explains Selina's unusual behavior earlier. Let me go. Lilith's revenge failed, and she was instead shamelessly embraced by Wang Yunxiao. Her pretty face flushed crimson, and then she began to struggle violently. Ouch! The next moment, Lilith froze, her eyes widening, her mind briefly blank. Wang Yunxiao's movements were simple and brutal. He had directly kissed Lilith's alluring red lips. Ouch! After a brief moment of shock, Lilith's next reaction was to struggle even more fiercely. However, Wang Yunxiao's arms were like iron clamps, holding Lilith in place. No matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't break free. Ouch! Lilith's struggles grew weaker, her pretty face flushed red, her bright eyes trembling rapidly. Unconsciously, Lilith slapped him away angrily, spat softly in disapproval. Weren't you the one who kept yelling keep going just now? Wang Yunxiao said with a wicked smile. Don't say that. Before Wang Yunxiao could finish his words, he was interrupted by Lilith in embarrassment. Bad guy, have you been planning on me from the beginning? Lilith suddenly asked after playing and joking with Wang Yunxiao for a while. Yeah, it's because you left such a deep impression on me last time. Wang Yunxiao smiled slightly and admitted it honestly. Huh? I knew you weren't a good person, Lilith snorted, but a hint of joy flashed across her eyes. What about you? When did you fall in love with me? I remember someone said I was a fire pit before. Wang Yunxiao kissed Lilith's pretty face lightly and asked curiously. Am I wrong? You're my destiny. I don't know when I first fell in love with you. I just know that ever since that time, your image has been constantly flashing through my mind. Lilith glared at Wang Yunxiao before whispering softly. To Wang Yunxiao's ears. This sounded more beautiful than any sweet talk, and he couldn't help but once again pursue Lilith's alluring lips. After a long moment, their lips parted. Although Lilith was also aroused, she still firmly grasped Wang Yunxiao's mischievous hands, preventing him from taking any further action. Wang Yunxiao didn't force her, but gently embraced Lilith again. Oh, by the way, Selina just told me that she used to be a vampire, but she's not anymore. What's going on? Lilith asked curiously, remembering something. Do you really want to know? Wang Yunxiao smiled but didn't answer. Tell me, Lilith chided. It's hard to explain this, so why not try it yourself? Wang Yunxiao still didn't answer, but instead offered a seductive tone. Okay, Lilith agreed with remarkable alacrity, without the slightest hesitation. She had given her entire being to Wang Yunxiao now, what was there to disagree with? Then watch carefully. Before he could finish his words, Wang Yunxiao revealed his zombie king form, sharp zombie fangs, blood-red pupils, and a pair of vast dragon wings spread from his back. Then, as Lilith stared in shock, Wang Yunxiao bit her neck. HMPH, Lilith felt a slight sting in her neck, followed by a strange sense of comfort that washed over her, causing her to moan softly. At the same time, fragments of memories, rooted in her bloodline, streamed into her mind, allowing her to quickly grasp a vast understanding. Roar, as a drop of shimmering blood dripped into Lilith's brow, completing her transformation into a fourth-generation zombie, she involuntarily let out a high-pitched scream. Instantly, invisible sonic waves swept in all directions, shattering everything inside. If the Vampire Council building hadn't been sufficiently sturdy, the entire floor would have been unlikely to survive. Outside, hurried footsteps echoed. It was evidently the Death Walkers stationed in the council building, having immediately noticed the commotion and, believing a powerful enemy to be invading, had hurriedly gathered. "You have no business here. Get out." The next moment, Selena's voice echoed, sending the Death Walkers packing. "You really are?" Then, Selena strode in. Seeing the devastated office, she was in a state of amazement, at a loss for words. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 305, Choices and Concerns. Finally, you're happy, Selena gave Wang Yunxiao a half-smile. Wang Yunxiao couldn't quite fathom Selena's current thoughts, so he could only smile in response. HMPH. I don't want to bother with you. Sister Lilith, we're real sisters now, Selena snorted, ignoring Wang Yunxiao and smiling at Lilith. She genuinely welcomed Lilith's arrival. After all, she had always wanted to. Thank you. Lilith could see Selena's sincerity, and a warm feeling filled her heart. This was a feeling she hadn't felt in thousands of years. You're welcome, Selena waved nonchalantly. Ahem, how about we discuss business first? Wang Yunxiao coughed twice, tentatively asking, seeing the two women chatting animatedly, seemingly oblivious to his presence. The next moment, 4 sharp gazes darted in his direction. Didn't they say Dracula has awakened from his slumber? Shouldn't I discuss how to deal with him first? Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but stifle a slight pause, but still managed to speak. Puff. Seeing Wang Yunxiao's expression, the two women exchanged a smile. Clearly, they were doing it on purpose, to prevent Wang Yunxiao from taking advantage. Tell me, what's your plan? Selena asked, both of them turning serious again. Truly, a woman's nature is to change her expression. I'm going to kill that bastard myself, Lilith declared, the deep hatred in her eyes almost condensing into substance. So, I think before we take action against Dracula, we should first improve Lilith's strength as quickly as possible. Wang Yunxiao had anticipated Lilith's thoughts and immediately raised a crucial question. Otherwise, with Lilith's current strength, let alone killing Dracula, it's hard to say whether she could even protect herself. As for how to quickly improve Lilith's strength, although Wang Yunxiao didn't say it explicitly, both Selena and Lilith knew full well that it was about advancing her zombie bloodline. As long as Lilith could successfully advance to the 3rd generation, even if she still couldn't match Dracula, she would have no problem protecting herself. But didn't you say that the advancement of the zombie bloodline shouldn't be rushed? Otherwise, it would affect future advancements. If we rush to advance Sister Lilith's zombie bloodline quickly and cut off her future path to advancement, wouldn't that be? Selena frowned slightly, appearing quite hesitant about the matter. It doesn't matter. As long as we can kill that bastard, even if my future path to advancement is cut off, what's the big deal? Lilith was remarkably resolute, without the slightest hesitation. Don't worry, I have a plan, Wang Yunxiao said confidently, without waiting for Selena's further persuasion. I plan to take Lilith to your world. I believe Alexander Corvinus's ancestral blood should be able to help her ascend to the 3rd generation of zombies without any side effects. Without waiting for the two women to ask, Wang Yunxiao stated his thoughts. Is that so? There really won't be any worries. Selena thought for a moment and approved of Wang Yunxiao's plan. Although Lilith didn't say anything, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If there really was a way to have the best of both worlds, it would be perfect. After all, if possible, she didn't want to cut off her future path to advancement. However, there's another possibility. What if Dracula suddenly comes while I'm away? Wang Yunxiao then changed the subject and expressed his concerns. Selena opened her mouth, wanting to say she could handle it, but she knew that this wouldn't truly reassure Wang Yunxiao, so she swallowed the words that were on her lips. There are only 2 options now. One is for you all to come with me. Wang Yunxiao spoke up again, not waiting for the two women to respond. No. If we're all gone, there's no guarantee Dracula won't unleash his wrath on the council. Then wouldn't all my efforts over the years be in vain? But before Wang Yunxiao could finish his words, Selena rebuffed him. Then there's only one last option. Let Selene and the others come and help you. Unsurprised by Selena's refusal, Wang Yunxiao offered a second solution. But could the women combined truly withstand Dracula? Wang Yunxiao wasn't sure. As the king of vampires, Dracula should be on the same level as Mephistopheles, the Lord of Hell, a godfather-like being. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had some ancient pact with Mephistopheles. But after thousands of years of slumber, his power would inevitably decline. As for how much, and how long it would take to recover, no one could say for sure. Okay. Let's do it. Selena hesitated briefly before agreeing readily. She knew clearly that they were family, and if they simply refused to help each other, they would truly be ostracizing themselves from this extended family. Immediately, Selena had Red Queen connect the women's communication, explaining the entire situation and expressing her hope for their assistance. Naturally, the women readily agreed to Selena's request without any hesitation. Soon, a dazzling portal suddenly appeared before Wang Yunxiao and the other two, and Selena, Ada Wang, Emma, and Clarice emerged one after another. Wow, your battle was quite intense, Selena couldn't help but tease, looking at the messy office, her narrow eyes flickering between Wang Yunxiao and Lilith's faces. Lilith's pretty face flushed, and she glared at Wang Yunxiao resentfully. Wang Yunxiao was so helpless, but he couldn't say anything. It was really like a fire in the city gate that affected the innocent. Lilith, hello. I'm Ada Wang. Fortunately, Ada Wang rescued Wang Yunxiao and greeted Lilith with a smile. And me, I'm Emma, Emma Grace Frost. She is Selene Gallio's sister, and she is Clarice Ferguson, my student. Emma also introduced the three of them enthusiastically. Hello. I'm Lilith. Lilith breathed a sigh of relief and responded enthusiastically. Soon, the girls became friends and forgot about Wang Yunxiao again. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 306 Dracula's Sudden Arrival. It's unclear whether Selene, Ada Wang, Emma, and Clarice were intentional, but since their arrival, they've been chatting animatedly with Selena and Lilith, leaving Wang Yunxiao completely invisible. However, Wang Yunxiao learned from their conversation that Rain, Best, and Elizabeth didn't come along because Wakanda, the Umbrella Corporation, and the Hellfire Club all needed someone to oversee them. Furthermore, with their current strength, they'd struggle to take on Vlad Tepes Dracula, the Vampire King. Even Clarice's strength was comparable to theirs, so they were brought along primarily as a precautionary measure, allowing them to retreat if things got out of hand. Wang Yunxiao wholeheartedly agreed with this. Therefore, among the women, only Selena, Selene, Ada Wang, and Emma were truly capable of confronting Dracula. Selena and Selene were the strongest, with Ada Wang and Emma slightly behind. Even so, the four could only barely hold their own against Dracula, who hadn't yet recovered. Once Dracula returned to his full power, the four women would be left with nothing but flight. Ahem, Lilith, we should leave sooner rather than later. Seeing the women's endless chatter, and more importantly, not wanting to be invisible any longer, he quickly coughed twice, interrupting them. Dear, when will you keep your promise to me? Selene said with a look of resentment before Lilith could say anything. Next time. I promise, I'll take you with me next time, Wang Yunxiao quickly promised. Remember this, if you slip up again. Selene's expression suddenly changed, a half-smile etched in her voice. All I can say is, she's truly a versatile witch. Okay, let's go, Lilith finally replied. She was inevitably a little nervous about heading into a completely new world, but it was also filled with curiosity and anticipation. If it's impossible, don't force it. If all else fails, you can temporarily take refuge in Kathmandu, Nepal. That's the territory of Kamartaj. Even Dracula wouldn't dare go there. Before leaving, Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but give the women another reminder. Don't worry, we'll take care of ourselves. The women smiled at each other and said in unison. They were deeply grateful for Wang Yunxiao's concern. Don't worry, we'll be back as soon as possible. Wang Yunxiao kissed each of the women on the cheek before sending Lilith into his personal space and embarking on a brief journey through the world of Underworld. In a blink of an eye, Wang Yunxiao and Lilith had been gone for 5 days. Since then, Selene, Ada Wang, Emma, and Clarice had taken up residence in the Vampire Council building. To prevent Dracula from attacking the council building at night, the women decided to stay there even at night, avoiding the manor or the Wakanda Palace. Brother Yunxiao and the others have been gone for 5 days, why haven't they returned yet? Did he say he'd be back soon? Is he in trouble? That night, the women were chatting together, and the topic of conversation turned to Wang Yunxiao. Emma asked worriedly. Hearing this, the room fell silent, and the other women's eyes turned to Selena. It shouldn't be any trouble. With their strength, no one in that world could threaten them. After a moment's hesitation, Selena shook her head. Perhaps Alexander Corvinus is hiding too well? This old man has lived from the Middle Ages to this day, and he's very cautious, Selena then speculated. Is that so? The other women exchanged glances, finally relieved. Sister Selena, tell me, what's your world like? Is it different from ours? I've never been to another world, Emma couldn't help but ask again, her eyes gleaming with curiosity and eagerness, as if she was also wondering if she should find a time to have Wang Yunxiao take her to another world. Not much different, Selena smiled slightly and briefly recounted some of the stories from the Underworld world to satisfy the women's curiosity. Be careful, Selene suddenly stood up, her expression stern, and warned in a deep voice. An enemy has broken in, Emma declared gravely, observing her surroundings with vigilance while keeping Clarice close behind her. The intruder had managed to sneak in silently, evading the Vampire Council's defenses. Emma couldn't help but be cautious. Of the women, Clarice was the weakest, and if the intruder truly intended a sneak attack, they would most likely target her. Selena and Ada Wong also rose to alert, joining Selene and Emma in protecting Clarice. Nice observation skills. Is it mental? Or psychic? Suddenly, a powerful voice echoed near the women, seemingly coming from all directions, making it impossible to determine its source. However, Selene and Emma's mental and psychic abilities couldn't conceal it, and the two women fixed their cold gazes on a dark corner of the room. Interesting, you possess both psychic and telepathic abilities. Ladies, are you both mutants? As the words fell, a slender yet incredibly strong figure silently appeared in the corner, blending seamlessly into the darkness, giving the illusion that he had always been there. Lady, don't waste your energy. Your mind control has no effect on me, Dracula said with a cold, half smile, his gaze fixed on Emma. HMPH, Emma snorted, but said nothing more. At that moment, the expressions of the women grew even more solemn. Not only could he easily see through Selene and Emma's abilities, but Emma's powerful telepathic abilities were completely ineffective against him, demonstrating the strength of the newcomer. Are you Vlad Tepes Dracula, the Vampire King? Selene said coldly. Being called a girl irritated her. After all, her time on Earth wasn't necessarily shorter than Dracula's. It's been a long time since I've heard you call me that. I didn't expect that someone still remembers my real name. Hey, why do you have the air of time? And the air of magic? Dracula turned his gaze to Selene, his pupils shrinking slightly, as if he had thought of something. Thanks to King Wu for the guaranteed monthly ticket. Today's 4 updates are here. Starting today, I will try my best to keep the update time fixed, with 1 chapter each at 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1600 hours, and 2000 hours. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 307 3 Women Fight Dracula. You are the Black Witch Selene Galio. Recalling this, Vlad Tepes Dracula's body trembled slightly, his expression growing cautious. He slowly uttered a name once taboo in the ancient Roman Empire. Selene didn't respond, her expression remaining icy, but the slight lift of her chin was the perfect response. Ms. Galio, I come here solely for the blood god, and I wish no unpleasantness with you. After a moment's hesitation, Dracula's tone softened, losing his condescending air. But the tone of concession was clear. This wasn't to say that Dracula was truly afraid of Selene, rather, he had only just emerged from his slumber, his strength still far from fully restored, and therefore had to be more cautious. Impossible. Selene's response was remarkably concise and forceful, leaving no room for maneuver. Are you the blood god? Seeing this, Dracula stopped arguing with Selene and turned his cold gaze to her. While he didn't want to confront Selene head-on right now, he felt he had shown enough sincerity, yet Selene still remained ungrateful. So, a fight would be the answer. Indeed, Selena replied gravely, clearly determined not to let down her composure. Furthermore, judging by Dracula's recent performance, it was clear he hadn't fully recovered yet, otherwise he wouldn't have backed down before Selene. Very good. A cold, murderous look flashed in Dracula's eyes, and he inexplicably vanished into mist, his true form no longer visible. Be careful, Selene shouted a low, dark chorus whirling around her. Clang, but before Selene's shout could even linger, the crisp sound of metal clashing echoed from Selene's direction. Suddenly, Dracula appeared directly in front of Selena, his right arm clad in a thick steel armguard. Glinting with cold steel claws, Selena's reaction was equally quick. 2 Nepalese swords, crafted entirely from adamantium, lashed out, piercing Dracula's steel arm, barely cracking it. It was as if the arm guard had become one with him, possessing remarkable regenerative abilities. After missing his first strike, Dracula followed with a second blow, his left arm also covered in a steel arm guard, and he clenched his fist, aiming for Selina's head. However, his fist had barely struck when he suddenly leaped backward. Almost instantly, a sharp arrow, condensed entirely from black energy, shot past Dracula's position, only to dissipate into thin air before reaching Selene, demonstrating Selene's mastery of her abilities. Bang! Unexpectedly, just as he leaped, Dracula suddenly and heavily plummeted to the ground. This was indeed Ada Wong's sudden activation of gravity, catching Dracula completely off guard. Gravity, a cold gaze pierced Ada Wong, utterly enraged at the blow. Dracula, already a man of immense pride, was completely convinced that the women before him were no match for easy foes. He would need to be fully focused if he hoped to slay the blood god. In an instant, his entire body was enveloped in steel armor. Ancient and profound runes etched across the gleaming armor, adding to its eerie and sinister quality. Roar! Amidst fierce roars, several women simultaneously materialized as zombies, their sharp fangs and pupils, sometimes yellow and sometimes green. Selina, in particular, unfurled a pair of vast, dragon-scaled bat wings. Swish! A flash of light flashed, and Selina, transformed into a bolt of black lightning, dashed out in an instant, reaching Dracula's immediate vicinity. Choosing to attack proactively. Swish, 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 Selina's two Nepali knives slashed out in rapid succession, the air filled with a chilling blade light as they swept towards Dracula like a whirlwind. "You're seeking death?" With a sharp cry, Dracula swung his arms repeatedly, seemingly forming a solid wall of steel, unmoved by Selina's ferocious blows. However, Selina wasn't fighting alone. Behind Dracula, swirling black snakes suddenly coalesced into a vast tide, surging towards him. Dracula's body trembled slightly, and a thin blood-red mist gushed from his 7 orifices, carrying wisps of an unusual sweetness. It drifted and condensed into ferocious blood wolves, fiercely facing the surging snake tide. Naturally, Ada Wong was not idle either. She activated her gravity control, not seeking to actually kill Dracula, but simply to slow his movements and create an opportunity for Selina and Selene to defeat him. However, as soon as Ada Wong's gravity acted on Dracula, or more accurately, before it even took effect, the blood-red runes on Dracula's armor dimly lit, greatly offsetting Ada Wong's gravity and making him appear even more sinister. This wasn't to say that Ada Wong's gravity had no effect on Dracula at all. With precise timing, it could still have some effect on him. She soon realized this and began to do just that. Unfortunately, such timing was far too elusive, and the impact it could have on Dracula was limited. Thus, Dracula fought the 3 women alone, holding his own. However, gaining any advantage over their coordinated teamwork proved challenging. Emma was the only one who refrained from a rash attack. It wasn't that she didn't want to, but rather that Dracula was completely immune to her mind control, and her melee abilities were rather mediocre. All she could do now was protect the weaker Clarice. However, what was surprising was that while Emma didn't actively provoke Dracula, he nonetheless came after her. While Emma's overall strength might not be considered a weakling, considering her psychic abilities, Dracula was clearly a weakling in Dracula's eyes. Dracula, entangled in a struggle with Selina, Selene, and Ada Wong one moment, silently appeared before Emma the next, unleashing a furious punch. Emma, though less skilled in melee combat, was not completely defenseless. Her entire right arm transformed into a shimmering diamond as it collided heavily with Dracula's fist. Bang! With a resounding, muffled thud, Emma stumbled backward, suffering no substantial damage. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 308 Clarice's Contribution. Vlad Tepes Dracula was slightly surprised that Emma had managed to block his sudden attack, especially given the strength of the diamond her arm had transformed into. However, he was no less quick, catching up with a retreating Emma like a shadow and delivering another blow. Emma quickly raised her arm to block, but Dracula's punch was a feint. His real killer move was his leg. Dracula's right leg, thrust through the air with a whistling sound, swept across like a steel whip. Emma tried to block or dodge, but it was too late. Fortunately, she had taken the precaution of transforming into a diamond figure. It was clear that her close combat experience was too limited. Bang! With a dull thud, Emma flew backwards, slamming heavily into the wall, creating a massive dent. Everything happened so suddenly and so quickly. In the blink of an eye, even if Selena, Selene, and Ada Wang had wanted to rescue, they were too slow. Fortunately, Selene's giant black python had already coiled around them, and Selena had already leaped forward, leaving Dracula no chance to pursue Selena. For a moment, the three women engaged Dracula once again. Moreover, they were more cautious than before, coordinating their attacks more effectively, making it impossible for Dracula to sneak up on Emma or Clarice. "Emma, are you okay?" Clarice hurried to the wall and helped Emma to her feet. "I'm fine. Damn it. From now on, I must really hone my close combat skills." Emma waved her hand to indicate that she was fine, then gritted her teeth and made a firm decision. Fortunately, Emma's diamond form was sufficiently durable, and combined with her zombie form, she sustained no substantial damage even from Dracula's blow. In terms of defensive power alone, she was undoubtedly the strongest of the women. Puff. Clarice couldn't help but chuckle at Emma's disheveled appearance. "You're still laughing," Emma, mortified, glared at her resentfully, knowing exactly why she was laughing. Wang Yunxiao often reminded Emma to hone her melee skills, and she always promised to do so. But then she'd find ways to slack off, always finding various reasonable excuses. Over time, Wang Yunxiao stopped bothering her. Even recently, inspired by Captain Marvel Carol Danvers, Emma, like the other women, has begun diligently training, but she's also been focusing more on improving her psychic abilities. In reality, Emma's choice wasn't wrong. After all, her psychic abilities were her foundation. Unless she encountered a monster like Dracula, completely immune to them, her psychic abilities were unstoppable. However, Wang Yunxiao felt it was a pity. Given Emma's diamond form's exceptional defense, if she could improve her melee abilities, her combat effectiveness would undoubtedly soar. "No. I can't let this damn bastard off," Emma cursed bitterly, glancing at Dracula, who was still engaged in a fierce battle with Selena, Selene, and Ada Wang. "Clarice, we can do this." Immediately, Emma's eyes flickered, a plan forming. She leaned over to whisper something in Clarice's ear. It was unclear what Emma said, but Clarice nodded repeatedly, her eyes flickering with an inexplicable glint. Clang, clang, clang. Meanwhile, Selena's Nepali saber clashed fiercely with Dracula's fists, sending out sparks. Selene's black gas python was also tightly entangled by Dracula's blood mist wolf. While it couldn't provide strong support to Selene, it did manage to distract Dracula considerably, forcing him to split his attention. As the fierce battle continued, Ada Wang's timing became increasingly precise, always able to disrupt Dracula at crucial moments, forcing him to remain vigilant and on guard against Ada Wang. Suddenly, Selene, who had been engaging Dracula at close range, inexplicably made a critical mistake. She was noticeably slow to block Dracula's powerful punch. Not only Selene, but Ada Wang also failed to intervene in time, allowing Dracula's fist to inch ever closer to Selene's heart. As for Selene, she was even more unable to intervene. She was completely focused on controlling the black gas python, engaging Dracula's blood mist wolf. Bang! With a muffled thud, Selene was instantly sent flying. Fortunately, at the last moment, she used her dragon-scale bat wings to block Dracula's blow, avoiding substantial damage. Finally repelling Selene briefly, Dracula, as expected, lunged at Emma. Compared to Selena's exceptional close-quarters combat prowess, Emma proved easier to handle and a more suitable opening for him to break the women's tacit coordination. Just as Dracula reached Emma, he was met with a dazzling, multicolored javelin, undoubtedly Clarice's handiwork. Dracula instinctively swung his fist in retaliation, his first impression being that the javelin didn't hold much power. Not good, however, as his fist collided with the javelin, Dracula cried out inwardly, sensing that the javelin was formed from concentrated special energy. In an instant, both Dracula and the javelin vanished completely. Yes, it worked, Emma cheered, clenching her fist and pumping it vigorously. It turned out that all of this was Emma's idea. Whether it was Selena's mistake, Ada Wang's failure to rescue her in time, or Selene's indifference, it was all the result of her telepathic connection with the other women. Dracula had been too careless, completely neglecting Clarice, the one he least cared about. Even with his pride, he didn't even bother to touch her. Unexpectedly, he ended up suffering a heavy loss at her hands. "Clarice, tell me, Where did you teleport the damned bastard to? Emma inquired curiously. Nepal, Kathmandu, Clarice smiled, seeming very pleased with her choice of place. For a moment, the women fell silent, even the air seemed to freeze. Clarice, you're amazing, Emma's excited cheer followed. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 309 Return. On the 5th day after Wang Yunxiao and Lilith had traveled to the Underworld to search for the bloodline needed to ascend to zombiedom, the Vampire King, Vlad Tepes Dracula, attacked the Vampire Parliament building at night. While Dracula hadn't yet regained his prime, he was still able to hold his own against Selene, and Ada Wong. However, he ultimately fell victim to Emma's schemes and was teleported to the Vatican by Clarice, whom he despised the most. One wonders what kind of surprise the Vampire King will have in store for him. Just how much chaos will Dracula unleash? Clarice, you actually have a better option. Send the damned bastard to Kathmandu, Nepal. I believe the Supreme Sorcerer will leave him with a lasting memory. After the cheers, Emma said with a hint of regret. It's true, women are the most vicious. It's best not to offend them easily. You think I haven't thought about it? It's just that I think doing this would inevitably be seen as provoking camartage, Clarice said grumpily. That's true. What if that damned bastard is completely dealt with by the Sorcerer Supreme? Sister Selena won't have a chance to fully complete her transformation, Emma nodded in agreement. Then, Emma chattered with the other girls, discussing what kind of special treatment Dracula would receive after being teleported to the Vatican's headquarters. What happened to make you so happy? Just as the girls were discussing their thoughts with elation, Wang Yunxiao suddenly appeared before them. Brother Yunxiao, Emma cheered, immediately throwing herself into Wang Yunxiao's arms. She was still in high spirits. Huh? Dracula's here. Wang Yunxiao, perceptive and alert, immediately sensed something was wrong in the room, as if he had just experienced a fierce battle, and asked with concern. Yes. Brother Yunxiao, you don't know, that bastard was very hateful. But in the end I tricked him and Clarice threw him into the Vatican, Em responded softly, and excitedly told everything that happened. You are the best. After hearing this, Wang Yunxiao finally felt relieved and didn't forget to reward Emma with a passionate kiss. Whereas Sister Lilith, after Wang Yunxiao and Emma had played around, Selena asked about Lilith's whereabouts with some concern. Although Lilith should be safe with Wang Yunxiao's protection, she couldn't help but feel a little worried without seeing her in person. Don't worry. She's fine, very fine. As he spoke, Wang Yunxiao had already moved Lilith out of his personal space. The meeting of the women was lively again. Under the women's questioning, Lilith also told the story of their trip. Speaking of which, this trip to the Underworld was truly filled with surprises. On their first day in Underworld, Wang Yunxiao and Lilith easily found Alexander Corvinus. It was the same dock, the same massive ship. To ensure Lilith could complete her third-generation zombie ascension, Wang Yunxiao showed no mercy and had her suck Alexander into a mummy. Afterwards, Lilith successfully completed her third-generation zombie as planned. The reason the two didn't immediately return to the Marvel Universe was because Wang Yunxiao discovered them. After all these years, despite the absence of Selena, the destined heroine, history continued to move forward, and the world had now reached the plot of Underworld 5, Blood Wars. For Wang Yunxiao, this discovery was undoubtedly a pleasant surprise. If he remembered correctly, the new leader of the Wolf Clan, Marius, had become extremely powerful after receiving Michael's pure blood, and so had Marius's vampire mistress, Samira. Perhaps, with their blood, Lilith could take another step forward and ascend to the second generation of zombies? When Wang Yunxiao shared his discovery and plan with Lilith, she naturally had no objections. If there truly was a chance to ascend to the second generation, how could she refuse? Thus, the two embarked on a new journey to find the adulterous couple, Marius and Samira. Unexpectedly, Marius, the leader of the wolf tribe, had abandoned his den and gone off to live, undoubtedly causing them considerable trouble. After nearly 5 days of searching, they finally found Marius and Samira. Even more surprising to Wang Yunxiao was that Samira had given birth to a forbidden child. No wonder they chose to live off the pack. What is a forbidden child? A child born between a vampire and a werewolf is a forbidden child. This is a common understanding among both the wolf and vampire tribes. Legend has it that the forbidden child brings nothing but disaster, threatening both clans with extinction. Therefore, if this were to leak, Marius and Samira would face endless pursuit from both clans. But now, Lilith has the advantage. With the blood of this family of 3 serving as nourishment, Lilith's chances of ascending to the second generation of zombies will undoubtedly increase. While Marius and Samira are formidable, they're vastly inferior to Wang Yunxiao. Capturing this adulterous couple didn't take Wang Yunxiao too much effort. However, what Wang Yunxiao didn't anticipate was the immense effort required to capture the Forbidden Child. While still young and lacking impressive combat prowess, the Forbidden Child is incredibly cunning and possesses mastery of special abilities. It was only after Wang Yunxiao sealed off the entire space that he finally captured the creature. The results were undoubtedly very encouraging. After draining the blood of the entire family of 3, Lilith, as expected, successfully ascended to the second generation of zombies. She was also the second of the women to do so, a testament to her exceptional luck. However, what neither Wang Yunxiao nor Lilith could have anticipated was that Lilith's path to advancement would be cut short. Logically, as a direct descendant of the vampire king Dracula, and even the most recent second generation, Lilith's potential should be much greater than this. Could it be that her method of advancement was faulty? Or, despite being vampires, Lilith was fundamentally different from the vampires of this world? Selena was able to complete her second generation of zombiehood by draining the blood of the blood god, furthering her transformation. It made no sense that the reverse wouldn't work for Lilith. Ultimately, Lilith resolved Wang Yunxiao's doubts, offering the only possible explanation, the curse. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 310, Chasing Dracula. After hearing Lilith's story, the women fell silent. They were both happy and envious of her luck, having been able to ascend so smoothly to the second generation zombie, yet also regretful that her path to advancement had been cut short, and for a moment, they couldn't think of how to comfort her. It's okay. I'm already very satisfied to have reached the second generation zombie. This also gives me the opportunity to finally kill Dracula with my own hands. Lilith acted calmly, but when she mentioned Dracula, a deep hatred and murderous intent flashed in her eyes. Let's go now, to kill Dracula. Selena suddenly stood up and said in a deep voice, her stern gaze slowly sweeping over the people in the room. That's right. Perhaps Dracula will suffer a great loss in the Vatican? If so, this is our best chance, Emma added. She was very vindictive, and simply throwing Dracula to the Vatican was clearly not enough revenge. That makes sense. Now might be a good opportunity. But forget it. You'd just be a burden if you went, Selene said with a smile, agreeing while teasing Emma. Sister Selene, you're so annoying. Emma was furious, but she didn't dare throw herself into Selene's clutches. She could only glare at Selene coquettishly. I agree, too. But you just got back. Is everything okay? Do you need some rest? Ada Wang naturally had no objections, though she was concerned that Wang Yunxiao and Lilith might be too tired from their constant travels. Of course, this trip to Selena's world didn't take much effort on our part, Wang Yunxiao shrugged nonchalantly. Suddenly, everyone's eyes were fixed on Lilith, awaiting her decision. Ultimately, they were all outraged by Lilith's plight, eager to help her slay Dracula. Thank you, Lilith thanked him repeatedly, moved. At that moment, she truly felt the warmth of the extended family she had joined, and she completely identified with it. Very well, then, let's go, Wang Yunxiao said with a final smile. Although Lilith's thanks were merely expressions of gratitude, without a direct response, her message was crystal clear. The night was dark and windy, with dark clouds looming overhead. Yet, the Vatican was ablaze with lights, a chaotic scene, a cacophony of noise, and teams of Vatican guards in gleaming armor shuttled back and forth, seemingly searching for something. And in a different dimension, unseen by the Vatican, Wang Yunxiao, Lilith, Selena, and Selene observed it all. Fortunately, Wang Yunxiao only brought Selena, Selene, and Lilith with him on this quest. This wasn't just because the others wouldn't be able to play a significant role against Dracula. More importantly, Wang Yunxiao worried that if he cornered him, he might resort to desperate measures, leaving the others vulnerable. Naturally, when Wang Yunxiao announced this decision, Emma fiercely objected. She still wanted to see Dracula's downfall, so how could she not be brought along? After much persuasion and numerous promises, Wang Yunxiao finally settled her mind and reluctantly agreed. Ada Wang and Clarice, on the other hand, didn't seem to have much of an objection. It simply gave them another reason to strive for strength. This guy's here too, could it be? Suddenly, a black priest caught Wang Yunxiao's attention, and he thought of something else. It seems we're late. The highlight has already ended, Selene sighed regretfully, glancing around. She seemed deeply disappointed that she hadn't seen Dracula or the church suffer. Yet, Wang Yunxiao's attention immediately shifted from the Black Priest, and he replied subconsciously, his tone tinged with regret. Selena and Lilith stared at each other in silence, truly unwilling to pay attention to these two mischievous individuals. Weren't they more concerned about Dracula's whereabouts? Otherwise, their entire journey would have been in vain. What do we do now? Selena finally asked the crucial question. For a moment, all three women's attention was fixed on Wang Yunxiao. "Oh, I haven't seen Dracula, so I can't pinpoint his location," Wang Yunxiao choked under the gazes of the women, spreading his hands and giving a wry smile. "Useless. I should have brought Clarice along," Selene immediately seized the opportunity to retort. Ever since Wang Yunxiao repeatedly broke his promises, never taking her with him on his journeys to other worlds, she'd been relentless in her pursuit of Wang Yunxiao. "How?" Wang Yunxiao replied with a wry smile, knowing that refutation at this point would only lead to even greater trouble. "I can sense Dracula's location." Just as Wang Yunxiao was about to express his helplessness, Lilith's words rescued him from his embarrassment. At that moment, Wang Yunxiao truly felt that Lilith's voice was heavenly, yet a sense of insecurity arose. If Lilith had a solution, why hadn't she spoken just now? This was clearly deliberate. At the same time, Wang Yunxiao felt completely relieved. With their enemy so close at hand, Lilith was still in the mood to playfully engage Selene, seemingly managing her hatred well. It was important to remember that not long ago, upon sensing Dracula's awakening from his slumber, Lilith had been completely consumed by hatred, desperately seeking out Wang Yunxiao and Selene, their enemies, willing to sacrifice anything to kill Dracula. Of course, this was also due to Lilith's pre-existing feelings for Wang Yunxiao, otherwise, she wouldn't have acted so impulsively. Fortunately, the outcome was a happy one for everyone. Lilith secured her chance to slay Dracula, Selena secured a valuable ally, and Wang Yunxiao finally found his true love. So what are we waiting for? Let's get going, Wang Yunxiao urged, acting excited. Regardless, Lilith had rescued him from his awkward situation. The three women rolled their eyes at Wang Yunxiao's pretentiousness, but nonetheless followed him out of the Vatican. Following Lilith's guidance, they pursued Dracula, finally catching up with him in the mountains 100 miles from Rome. Admittedly, this guy was quite the escapist. "Who are you? Come out." Dracula, though bewildered and clearly suffering a heavy loss in the Vatican and desperate to escape the Vatican's core sphere of influence, was the first to detect the alien dimension the four men were in. One can only say, he truly lives up to his title as the King of Vampires. 4 more chapters are up for today. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311 The Power of Curse. Guided by Lilith, Wang Yunxiao and his companions pursued Dracula, finally catching up in the rolling mountains 100 miles from Rome. However, he revealed his whereabouts. Given this, Wang Yunxiao abandoned any plans for a sneak attack and immediately withdrew from the alternate dimension, appearing before Dracula. "It's you?" Dracula's gaze fixed on Selena and Selene, his face livid, evidently impressed by the women. "I didn't expect you to dare appear before me. Did he give you such confidence?" Dracula then shifted his gaze to Wang Yunxiao. Throughout, Dracula never once glanced at Lilith, a deliberate act. How could he fail to recognize his own daughter? And this evil girl who had held a deep grudge against him and pursued him for millennia. "Dracula, I'm going to kill you." At that moment, despite knowing Dracula was ignoring her, Lilith couldn't help but feel enraged. She instantly manifested her zombie form, flapped her wings, and charged towards Dracula. Before she could reach him, an invisible sonic wave arrived, sweeping towards him like a raging wave. As a father, and having been hunted countless times by Lilith, Dracula was well aware of her abilities. He immediately enveloped himself in a blood-red mist, awaiting the sonic impact. However, Dracula underestimated Lilith and failed to notice her drastic transformation. The moment the blood-red mist made contact with the sonic wave, it was instantly dissipated. Bang! With a muffled sound, Dracula sped back, taking a heavy blow. Swish, Lilith, unyielding, followed closely behind him, her fingers sharp as knives, whistling through the air as she swiftly clawed at Dracula. Clang clang, Dracula, despite retreating, remained unfazed. He thrust his fists together, colliding with Lilith's claws with a resounding clang of metal. Before he knew it, Dracula's body was covered in pristine steel armor. Die, die, Lilith screamed, sending invisible waves of sound hurtling towards Dracula. Her claws, like a torrential rain, attacked him relentlessly. Unfortunately, the gap in strength between the two remained significant. Dracula, completely ignoring his contempt, neutralized Lilith's fierce attacks with a single gesture. Swish, just as Dracula was about to strike back, a piercing cold ray slashed down. It was Selena, fearing Lilith would be at a disadvantage, who intervened, joining forces with her to attack Dracula. Not only Lilith, but Selena was also not idle. Black energy swirled around her, condensing into sharp arrows that hovered in the air around Dracula, swiftly piercing him at the perfect moment, forcing him to focus on the combined attack of Lilith and Selena. For a moment, Dracula, under the tacit coordination of the three women, was completely at a disadvantage. This was not only due to the women's targeted attack, but also primarily due to the heavy losses he had suffered previously in the Vatican. But ultimately, wasn't this also the fault of these women? However, Dracula's steel armor was too strong, and his super regenerative abilities made the three women's situation quite awkward, and they were unable to inflict any substantial damage on him. Even Wang Yunxiao, watching from the sidelines, frowned, secretly pondering that even if it were him, it would be difficult to break through Dracula's iron armor. It was undoubtedly a very troublesome task. However, before Wang Yunxiao could come up with a solution, Lilith had already provided a practical answer. Just as Dracula knew her intimately, she also knew Dracula intimately, even having a method to counter him. Puff, a large spurt of blood erupted from Lilith's mouth, transforming into a cloud of blood mist that enveloped Dracula with its own consciousness. How dare you? Dracula's expression changed drastically, looking at the blood mist as if he were witnessing the most vicious curse in the world. Indeed, this blood mist was the power of the curse within Lilith, capable of completely piercing Dracula's iron armor. But since it was a cursed power, Lilith wasn't going to do it without a price. More accurately, it was a desperate move. If she couldn't completely slay Dracula within 24 hours, she would inevitably suffer the curse's backlash, plunging her into a millennium-long slumber. Sizzle, the blood mist, like a thorn in her flesh, left Dracula no chance to evade. With a sharp, corrosive sound, it instantly melted away Dracula's iron armor. Evil woman, Dracula snorted, his entire form dissolving into a cloud of bloody mist, vanishing from the spot. He didn't intend to engage the three women any further, and simply retreated. His actions weren't due to genuine fear of the three women, but rather to the fear of Wang Yunxiao, who was watching closely nearby. Dracula, it's not appropriate to leave like this, is it? The next moment, Dracula reappeared, and Wang Yunxiao, with a half-smile, blocked his path. Damn it, Dracula cursed softly, recognizing Wang Yunxiao's special abilities. He knew his retreat was impossible and remained on guard. Yet, you should have died long ago, huh? Wang Yunxiao laughed heartily. The God of War blade instantly appeared in his hand, slashing through the air with a whistling sound as it slashed towards Dracula. Dracula naturally refused to withstand Wang Yunxiao's ferocious blow with his physical body, but how could a man as proud as him retreat so soon after the initial exchange? He immediately conjured a blood-red longsword and raised his hand to meet the blow. Clang, with a clang of metal clashing, the blood-red longsword was severed in two. The God of War blade continued its momentum, slashing towards Dracula. Dracula could no longer dodge, so he swung his arm to block it. Puff, blood splattered as Dracula's arm was severed almost to the elbow. Yet, in a matter of seconds, Dracula's arm healed, leaving no trace of the damage, a true testament to his unkillable immortality. Wang Yunxiao, fully prepared for this situation, launched a relentless barrage of slashing blows, leaving Dracula no chance to breathe. Roar, despite being instantly restored to his original form after repeated wounds from Wang Yunxiao, Dracula roared in fury. Meanwhile, Dracula transformed into a dark red monster, his entire figure more than doubling in size. Hideous bone spurs protruded from his head and joints, giving him an uncanny, ferocious appearance. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 312 The End of Hatred. Clang! Dracula's bone spikes were incredibly strong, colliding fiercely with the blade of the god of war. Sparks flew, but the spikes remained unscathed. Furthermore, after transforming into a ferocious monster, Dracula's strength, speed, endurance, reflexes, and super regeneration abilities all increased by more than double. Fortunately, Lilith had preemptively shattered his iron armor, otherwise, even Wang Yunxiao would have been practically impossible to breach. Roar! With a fierce roar, Wang Yunxiao revealed his zombie king form, razor-sharp zombie fangs, blood-red vertical pupils, and a pair of vast dragon wings unfurling from behind. Instantly, his combat power soared to a terrifying level, once again forcing Dracula into complete disadvantage. Ultimately, this was because Dracula was far from his prime, and the heavy loss he had suffered in the Vatican had only exacerbated his situation. Otherwise, who would have been in such a difficult position? Roar! Dracula roared in anger, but this did nothing to change his dire situation. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao keenly sensed that while his attacks hadn't inflicted any substantial damage, his declining strength was already showing signs of weakening his monstrous form. This realization undoubtedly bolstered Wang Yunxiao's resolve, and his attacks intensified with even greater ferocity, leaving Dracula no chance. If he could force Dracula back into human form, Wang Yunxiao would have more than one way to utterly slay him. Forget his immortality, which Shivan gods couldn't kill. Even the blood god wasn't necessarily inferior to Dracula in terms of regenerative abilities. Hadn't he ultimately perished after Selena drained all his blood? Roar! As expected, with a furious roar, Dracula finally lost his monstrous form and returned to human form. Immobilize! Wang Yunxiao was overjoyed, shouting out in a dramatic tone. Spatial energy surged wildly within him, pinning Dracula to the spot. Yes, spatial confinement. After several years, Wang Yunxiao had finally developed a new special ability, a perk of being the host of a special gem. Selena! Wang Yunxiao shouted in a deep voice. Selena, knowing Wang Yunxiao's intentions, flapped her wings and instantly rushed to Dracula's side. Without a moment's hesitation, her sharp zombie fangs pierced Dracula's carotid artery. Damn it! Get out of my way! Dracula, worthy of being the king of vampires, struggled fiercely even in such dire straits. He was the first to resist despite being sucked alive by zombies. This was something even the blood god hadn't been able to achieve. Unfortunately, Dracula's condition was too dire, and he was trapped within Wang Yunxiao's special confinement. No matter how hard he tried, his struggles were futile. Wang Yunxiao, on the other hand, while not having an easy time, was managing to maintain his position, largely due to the endless flow of special energy within his body, another perk of being the host of the special gem. No, feeling the blood draining from his body, and more importantly, the essence of his being the vampire king, Dracula finally let out a desperate roar. Roar! After a long moment, Selena pushed the bloodless Dracula away and roared to the heavens. Her entire body was undergoing a profound transformation from the inside out. The purple in her blood-red pupils intensified, her jet-black hair took on a faint purple hue, and a swirling purple aura permeated her entire body, as if enveloped in a blazing purple flame. At that moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Selena's transformation. No one, not even Lilith, paid any attention to the half-dead Dracula. However, as the three watched with anticipation, Selena's transformation abruptly halted, and the purple aura surrounding her quickly dissipated. Still no, Wang Yunxiao frowned slightly. Disappointment with this result was undeniable, but she wasn't overly surprised. After all, Selena's mutation differed from the orthodox, and she didn't possess the bloodline of either the Pangu or Destiny. Meeting the gazes of the three, especially Wang Yunxiao's gentle one, Selena's eyes were filled with guilt. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but when the words reached her lips, she didn't know where to begin. Ultimately, she was the one most disappointed at this moment. It's okay, we'll find another way. Now, you're just one step away. You'll definitely succeed next time, Wang Yunxiao soothed softly. Despite this, Wang Yunxiao wasn't entirely sure. The so-called final step was also the most crucial, and the most difficult. To truly cross this step, the owner of the blood energy would be no less powerful than Dracula. But, looking around the world, where could one find another vampire of the same caliber? Perhaps, dark creatures should also be able to do it. Suddenly, an idea arose in Wang Yunxiao's mind. Moreover, The more he thought about it, the more feasible this method seemed to him. Whether it was vampires or werewolves, weren't they all members of the dark creatures? Then, the figure of the black priest he had seen in the Vatican before once again appeared in front of Wang Yunxiao's eyes. However, this matter could be discussed later. There was another important thing to do now. Lilith, do it. Wang Yunxiao immediately turned his attention to Lilith. Hearing this, Selena and Selene also looked at Lilith with encouragement. Yes, Lilith nodded slightly, and strode towards Dracula with an expressionless face. The curse that had plagued her for thousands of years had finally come to an end. Lilith, having lost his true essence, and his immortality, Dracula was now powerless to struggle. Even as proud as he was, he disdained any more futile attempts. He simply looked at Lilith with a complicated expression. This evil girl he had abandoned before she was even born, hated him with deep hatred, and had hunted him for millennia. Dracula, it's time to end our feud, Lilith sighed softly, her eyes filled with complexities, but without hesitation, she struck, piercing Dracula's chest. At that moment, Lilith felt an inexplicable sense of relief. She knew it was simply because the curse that had plagued her for so many years had been lifted, but she felt no sense of relief, but rather a sense of emptiness. It's all over. With a wave of his hand, he sent Dracula's body into the endless void. Wang Yunxiao walked over to Lilith and gently embraced her. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 313, Thinking Again. When Wang Yunxiao, Selene, Selena, and Lilith returned to the Wakanda Palace, the other women were waiting. How was it? Did you take down that bastard? Emma was the first to greet them upon their return, eagerly asking, even more eager than Lilith herself. It was just that women are the most vindictive creatures in the world. Yes, Lilith nodded heavily. All the complications and emptiness were temporary, shedding the hatred and curse that had plagued her for millennia was the most important thing. Unfortunately, according to Wang Yunxiao's observation, the removal of the curse hadn't restored Lilith's potential, and her future as a zombie remained uncertain. Great! Congratulations, Sister Lilith, Emma couldn't help but cheer, but she also didn't forget to congratulate Lilith. The other women also came forward to express their congratulations, and Lilith smiled and thanked them. Where's Selena? Ada Wang then asked about Selena's well-being, which she was more concerned about. After all, she, too, had mutated, and this could very well have implications for her future. Suddenly, everyone's attention shifted to Selena. Selena didn't answer, merely shaking her head bitterly. How could this be? Rain couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The other women, though silent, shared a look of disbelief. They knew how long Wang Yunxiao had been plotting Selena's advancement, even having long since set his sights on Dracula, the Vampire King. That's nothing to be surprised about. Mutations aren't easy. But don't worry too much. I've come up with a plan. This time, it shouldn't be too much of a problem, Wang Yunxiao interjected, smiling confidently. What's that? Selena couldn't help but ask, her eyes brimming with anticipation. The other women perked up, eager to hear what Wang Yunxiao had in mind. Do you remember how I ascended to Zombie King? Wang Yunxiao asked with a smile. You mean Mephisto, the Lord of Hell? Selene gasped and whispered. Her dark magic, fundamentally, draws on the power of the dark plane, with Hell being her primary target. Naturally, she understands the horrors of Hell better than most. Selene even believes that if not for Earth, even the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, wouldn't necessarily be Mephisto's match. Of course, Selene's thinking isn't necessarily right or wrong. As two celestial-level beings, without a true life or death battle, it's impossible to say who is stronger. But the reality is that, without being able to open the gates of Hell, Mephisto can only rely on his avatar to roam Earth. The power he can exert is barely at the celestial level, let alone the planetary level. This is the reason Wang Yunxiao dared to repeatedly target Mephisto before he ascended to the Zombie King. And now, he's even less concerned about Mephisto. Don't worry, it's just an avatar, it won't cause much trouble. Wang Yunxiao, of course, saw Selene's concern and simply smiled calmly, demonstrating that he didn't take Mephisto seriously at all. Hearing this, Selene could only temporarily put aside her worries and said no more. But for some reason, she still felt that this would become a huge hidden danger for her and the others. But is this really possible? Didn't you say that only vampire or werewolf blood can truly help Selene? Ada Wang asked hesitantly, her brow furrowed slightly. Don't worry, Whether it's a vampire or a werewolf, they are ultimately creatures of the dark. My judgment shouldn't be wrong. Wang Yunxiao said with a confident smile. Come to think of it, we zombies are also members of the dark creatures, haha, Wang Yunxiao then added jokingly. As if infected by Wang Yunxiao's confidence, the women also put aside their hesitation and worries. But you also said that Mephistopheles' incarnations are always elusive. Where can we find him? But then Emma posed the new, crucial question. That's what I'm going to say. Next, mobilize all our intelligence systems and keep a close watch on a black priest named Moro in the Vatican. Don't let him escape our sight. Wang Yunxiao's smile faded completely as he spoke seriously. He also gave a general overview of Moro's situation. He didn't know more specifics, though. After all, he only had a fleeting glimpse of him in the Vatican, and the original story didn't include any specific information about Moro. However, this didn't faze Wang Yunxiao and the other women. With the advancement of internet technology, even the Vatican needed to keep pace. As long as the basic information of the Vatican's clergy was stored on a computer, it would be easy for the Red or White Queen to steal it. Even if the clergy's basic information wasn't stored on the computer, with the combined intelligence of Wakanda, the Umbrella Corporation, the Hellfire Club, and the North American Vampire Council, tracking down a well-known black priest wouldn't be difficult. Can monitoring him lead to Mephisto? Despite Wang Yunxiao's confidence, Selene still raised her doubts. Just tonight, I sensed a demonic presence in him, was Wang Yunxiao's only reply. He couldn't possibly claim to have learned this from the original storyline, could he? With Wang Yunxiao's words, the women no longer had any doubts and pledged to assign personnel to investigate the matter tomorrow morning. Over the next few days, matters progressed smoothly. Combining the intelligence of Wakanda, the Umbrella Corporation, the Hellfire Club, and the North American Vampire Council, Wang Yunxiao and the women easily tracked down Morlo. According to intelligence, he was currently en route to Usak Province, Turkey. Then, even more intriguing intelligence arrived. By chance, they'd also discovered traces of Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze in Usak Province. Combined with these two facts, Wang Yunxiao knew the plot of Ghost Rider 2, Vengeance wasn't far off. Perhaps it had already begun. To be on the safe side, Wang Yunxiao abandoned his idleness and rushed to Usak Province with Selena, just in case anything went wrong. After all, this was the best opportunity Wang Yunxiao could imagine to take on Mephisto in a short period of time. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 314 Son of the Devil. An abandoned factory building on the outskirts of Usak, Western Turkey. Welcome to uninvited guests today, Wang Yunxiao and Selena. They didn't immediately seek out the black priest, Moro, nor was there any need to. After all, he was merely a clue. The real key lay in the hands of Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze. Fortunately, Johnny, undeterred by his violent urges after transforming into Ghost Rider and his extreme desire to punish those he considered guilty, chose to live in seclusion here. Tisk tisk, how pathetic. Hiding in this godforsaken place. What do you think? Should we go meet this old friend? Looking at the dilapidated factory building before them, Wang Yunxiao said to Selena beside him with a hint of mischief. If you want to try Ghost Rider's Hellfire and Eye of Judgment again, you can go meet him, Selena said grumpily. Forget it, Hellfire is not a pleasant experience, Wang Yunxiao shrugged, immediately abandoning the tempting idea. He wasn't a masochist, so provoking the Ghost Rider or something like that was just talk. Boom, boom, suddenly, the roar of a motorcycle engine approached from afar. Huh? What a coincidence, Wang Yunxiao muttered to himself, startled for a moment. With a wave of his hand, he and Selena were engulfed in another dimension. Soon, Moro, dressed in a motorcycle suit, sped up on a sleek motorcycle. He looked nothing like a priest. Yeah. Do you think you can control that monster this way? Or do you think you're stronger than it? Morlo, however, refused to let Johnny go. He followed him, taunting him loudly. Why did you come? What exactly do you want from me? Johnny, annoyed, grabbed the motorcycle chain and strangled Morlo's neck, demanding furiously. I need your help. And your soul needs redemption. Johnny, I'm a priest. I can help you. Let's negotiate a deal, Morlo said with difficulty. After a moment's hesitation, Johnny finally let Morlo go. After all, while he was furious at the disruption of his peaceful life, he wasn't losing his mind and wasn't prepared to kill Morlo. Huff, huh? Morlo gasped for breath, finally easing his oxygen-deprived brain and staggering to his feet. This child is in danger. Not only his life, but only you can save him. Morlo then pulled a black and white photo from his pocket and placed it on Johnny's motorcycle. I never save people, Johnny said coldly, picking up the photo and examining it. Then why are you hiding here, Johnny? Don't kid yourself. I know you're kind. Morlo laughed mockingly before speaking sincerely. What makes you think I can find him? Johnny asked after a long silence. The man you signed a contract with a few years ago? Although Johnny didn't directly answer, the fact that he'd asked meant he was no longer resisting. Morlo quickly explained in a deep voice. Mephisto. Johnny enunciated the name, word by word, a name he would never forget and one that would be forever connected to him. You know, the devil has many incarnations. Find him, and you'll find the child. And only the Ghost Rider can track the devil. Morlo shrugged and spoke seriously. What's the relationship between him and that child? Johnny asked again. He's the devil's child, and the devil's chosen new host for his incarnation. After a slight hesitation, Morlo decided to tell the truth. A new host, Johnny frowned. As far as he knew, Mephisto's avatar walking the earth should require such trouble, right? Yes. If the Demon King's avatar is his offspring, then it will possess even greater magical power, Morlo explained gravely. Tell me what you want to negotiate with me. Johnny's expression froze. While he wouldn't sit idly by and allow such a thing to happen, he wasn't foolish enough to agree out of hand. The church has what you desire most. Bring the child here, and we'll lift that vicious curse, Morlo declared solemnly. Deal, Johnny agreed without a second thought. Over the years, he'd been driven nearly insane by the Ghost Rider. Uprooted from his homeland, isolated from society, and separated from his beloved, all of this tormented him constantly. Breaking the evil pact was his greatest wish. Having already agreed to Morlo's terms, Johnny no longer hesitated and immediately followed Morlo. Our target is the child? Selena asked softly, watching the two gradually walk away. Of course, Wang Yunxiao admitted frankly. Then why don't we go find the child directly? Selena asked again, puzzled. It's not that simple. The demonic power in that child has not yet awakened. It still needs a ritual to truly activate it. And that ritual can only be effective if Mephisto personally presides over it. Wang Yunxiao shook his head slightly and briefly explained the reasons. Okay, hearing this, Selena said no more. Since Mephisto values that child so much, maybe that child will give us a big surprise. Then, Wang Yunxiao said leisurely, his eyes glittering with an inexplicable light. What Wang Yunxiao was thinking about at this moment was that it was the demon son named Danny who allowed Johnny to fully awaken the angelic power of Thanos. Xanthus is a true tragedy. Originally an angel of justice, he descended to the mortal world to protect humanity, but he fell prey to Mephistopheles, was captured and taken to hell, tortured, and ultimately driven mad, transforming into the Ghost Rider, driven to the brink of punishment. While Xanthus' angelic powers are believed to be part of the Ghost Rider's innermost powers, who can say for sure that they have nothing to do with Danny? Thanks to reader 160,308,074,201,590 for the guaranteed monthly ticket. 4 new chapters have been released today. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 315 Prophecy Day. That night, Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze, using his demonic intuition, contacted Kerrigan and his gang, who were hired by Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, to capture Nadia and Danny. It was absurd. Nadia, once Kerrigan's girlfriend, was now pregnant with Mephisto's demonic child. It was a messed up world. Faced with a Ghost Rider, blazing with hellfire, Kerrigan and his gang, though apprehensive, showed no sign of retreat. Furthermore, they had recently acquired a powerful batch of heavy weaponry, emboldening them. Johnny, on the other hand, had been unable to transform into a Ghost Rider for a long time, and his combat effectiveness had inevitably declined. As a result, Johnny's Ghost Rider form was inevitably defeated by Kerrigan and his gang's heavy firepower, leaving him helpless as Danny was captured. Johnny and Nadia then embarked on a new quest to rescue Danny. However, barely at the beginning of this new journey, Johnny was struck by a devastating blow. He could no longer sense Danny. It was obvious that this was Mephisto's doing. Ultimately, it was only through Nadia's ruthless methods, repeated inquiries, and Johnny's threats that Johnny finally discovered the whereabouts of Kerrigan and his crew. In the gravel pit, the fully restored Ghost Rider unleashed his might, utterly crushing Kerrigan and his crew. Despite their heavy firepower, the Ghost Rider proved ineffective, nearly wiping them out. Why almost? Because one person remained alive, Kerrigan, the leader. 1,000-year-long curse. Even more surprising to Johnny, Kerrigan hadn't died. Mephisto had transformed her into a monstrous creature, gifted with the dark power of corruption. Meanwhile, Johnny, along with Nadia and Danny, was rushing to the Vatican's branch in Hancock to reunite with Moro. Perhaps it was because he'd been away from people for so long, but even after just half a day's journey, Johnny felt a sense of fatherhood through Danny. It was a powerful plot twist. After all, Johnny didn't even have a steady girlfriend, so how could he have ever been a father? But regardless, Johnny's biggest desire was to break his contract with Mephistopheles and become a normal person again. Upon arriving at the Vatican's branch in Hancock, Johnny, no longer concerned about Nadia and Danny, hurriedly said goodbye and followed Moro to the branch's temple to begin the ritual Moro had described as releasing him from his contract with Mephistopheles. It turned out that, to some extent, Moro hadn't completely deceived Johnny. At least after the ritual, he no longer felt the Ghost Rider's presence. But what Johnny didn't know was that this ritual didn't actually help him break his pact with Mephistopheles, it merely sealed the Ghost Rider's power. As for breaking the pact with the Lord of Hell, whether the entire church could even do so was uncertain. However, while Johnny rejoiced at his new life, Nadia and Danny were having a difficult time. The bishop of this branch of the church believed that Danny possessed demonic power and would sooner or later cause disaster, and he had decided to eliminate Danny completely to prevent any further trouble. At the altar of the branch, 12 priests formed a circle, surrounding the bishop and Danny in the center, ready to begin the process of slaying the priest who had killed Danny. After all, Danny was the son of the devil, and a certain amount of respect was due. In a distant dimension, Wang Yunxiao and Selena observed all this. Ever since Johnny found Danny, they hadn't let him out of their sight. Should we save him? Selena asked as the ritual was about to begin. No need, his rescuers are here. Wang Yunxiao was about to say something, but the words faltered on the tip of his tongue. In truth, Selena hadn't needed him to say anything, she'd already sensed something. A pale, ghostly monster, half human, half ghost, quickly rotted the 12 priests surrounding the altar into mummies, eventually even the bishop. This monster was none other than Kerrigan, who had been granted the dark power of corruption by Mephistopheles. What a vile monster! Where did he come from? Selena asked in a slightly surprised tone from the other dimension. Of course, he's a minion sent by Mephistopheles, Wang Yunxiao shrugged, rather nonchalantly. He had every reason to say so. While the power of corruption might seem terrifying, it had its limits. Otherwise, with his unbridled personality, he wouldn't have obeyed Mephistopheles again. They're gone, let's follow. Seeing Kerrigan forcibly abduct Danny, Wang Yunxiao took Selena's hand and followed. When Johnny, Nadia, and Moro broke free from the priests guarding him and rushed to the altar, they were met with 13 neatly arranged mummies. With a brief moment's deliberation, the three quickly pinpointed Mephistopheles as Danny's abductor. Furthermore, under Johnny and Nadia's questioning, Moro revealed a crucial piece of information. On the prophetic day, the day of Danny's birth, a ritual must be performed before sunrise when he turns 13. Mephistopheles will transfer his soul into Danny's body, creating his new incarnation. And the prophetic day is tomorrow. This means the three only have one night left. At that moment, Johnny truly regretted returning to normal life. But regaining his lost power was no easy task. Perhaps heading to the Vatican might offer a solution, but regardless of whether the Vatican would help him regain his Ghost Rider power, time alone was running out. Regardless of their motivations, the three would not sit idly by and allow Mephisto's scheme to succeed. Their primary challenge was finding the location where Mephisto was performing his ritual. Fortunately, Moro had been keeping tabs on the matter and quickly located the location. Equipped with numerous firearms, the three hurried to the site of Mephisto's ritual. Meanwhile, Wang Yunxiao and Selena had followed Kerrigan to the ancient ruins of Hancock. However, they didn't approach. While Mephisto's avatar lacked combat power, its sensory abilities were undeniable, and Wang Yunxiao wasn't sure if he could see through the alternate dimension. To truly enter the ancient ruins, they needed to wait for the right moment. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 316, Flirting with the Demon King. As evening fell, the ancient ruins of Hancock began to see a steady stream of people, politicians, wealthy individuals, and murderers. They came from all corners of the world, all to witness the birth of the new Demon King tonight. At that moment, Mephistopheles would walk the earth in a new form, possessing unprecedented power and the ability to achieve even more. As night fell, the ceremony officially began. Mephistopheles and a disoriented Danny knelt on a dais, swaying their upper bodies and even their heads in strange gestures. In the stands, all who had come to witness the birth of the new Demon King rose in unison, chanting ancient rituals. Let's go in. The ceremony has begun, and Mephistopheles should no longer have the energy to pay attention to us. Outside the ancient ruins, Wang Yunxiao smiled calmly, took Selena's hand, and silently entered the ruins. Elsewhere, Johnny, Moro, and Nadia had already sprung into action, intent on thwarting Mephistopheles' plot and rescuing Danny. As time passed, the eyes of Mephistopheles and Danny on the dais grew dark as ink, appearing eerie. Mephistopheles' shadow stretched, reaching Danny beside him. Almighty Lord, please hear my confession. I have sinned, I have sinned. At that moment, Morlo suddenly leaped from the stands, shouting, "Da da da," and that wasn't all. Morlo's machine gun continued to spew flames. Fortunately, he was still mindful of his priestly status, otherwise, the gun wouldn't have been aimed at the sky, but would have blasted those closest to him into sieves. The stands erupted in an uproar, everyone's eyes fixed on Morlo, even Mephistopheles on the dais. The ritual was inevitably interrupted. But that didn't mean it had failed, it was merely suspended. Furthermore, Danny had fully activated the demonic power within him. Suddenly, Johnny burst from the side of the platform, knocking Mephisto down with a single blow, unable to react. It was obvious that Mephisto, merely in disguise, was incredibly weak, having been caught off guard by Johnny, who is no more than an ordinary man. It was also undeniable that the guards surrounding the ancient city ruins were mere figments of their powers, allowing Moro and Johnny to penetrate so easily. Just as Johnny was about to flee with Danny, he was stunned to find himself unable to move. The attacker wasn't someone else, but the very person he was trying to rescue, Danny. Danny, now completely unconscious, didn't recognize him. The fierce gunfire in the stands abruptly ceased. Moro, reduced to a mummy by Kerrigan, could now truly repent to his master. "Danny, listen to me, I shouldn't have given up my power. Come with me, he'll destroy you," Johnny cried, trying to rouse Danny. Unfortunately, Mephisto wouldn't give Johnny the chance. With a simple wave of his hand, he tossed him off the platform. Then, an even more tragic scene unfolded. Before Johnny could even struggle to his feet, he felt a sharp pain in the back of his head, and he completely lost consciousness. Before he passed out, he only vaguely saw that it was a woman who had knocked him unconscious. It was Selena. No one knew if Johnny would ever regain his Ghost Rider powers, and Wang Yunxiao didn't want to take that risk, so he had to keep him unconscious for a while. Meanwhile, Danny on the platform inexplicably vanished from the spot, having been thrown into Wang Yunxiao's personal space. "You again." Mephisto let out an angry growl upon seeing Wang Yunxiao. He would never forget how Wang Yunxiao had ruined his plans the last time, handing the contract of Saint Venganza to the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, thus denying him the opportunity to open the gates of hell and descend to earth in his true form. "Long time no see, respected Lord of Hell," Wang Yunxiao said with a half-smile, but there was no trace of respect in his tone. "Where did you teleport Danny? Return him to me, and I'll forgive you for what happened before." Mephisto calmed down immediately, realizing that venting his anger wouldn't solve the problem. "You know, that's impossible. The blood of the devil's child is so delicious, it's truly nostalgic." Wang Yunxiao spread his hands, his words utterly infuriating. "Damn it. I'll kill you." Even Mephisto, with his cunning mind, couldn't help but feel furious at this, raising his hand to grab Wang Yunxiao through the air. However, nothing happened, and Wang Yunxiao remained standing there perfectly still. "Respected Lord of Hell, have you descended to earth incarnated to tease me?" Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but grumble, speechless at Mephisto's confidence. He was at his current level, didn't he have any chance of competing? "You?" Mephisto was practically mad with rage, just like Thanos had been. But he also knew that this avatar alone was no match for Wang Yunxiao, so he refrained from further action, fearing to provoke Wang Yunxiao's wrath. Meanwhile, his desire for Danny grew stronger. "Kerrigan, kill him!" Mephisto suddenly spotted Kerrigan, who had arrived just in time, and commanded sharply. Kerrigan, though annoyed by Mephisto's tone, was now under his control, So he vented his frustration on Wang Yunxiao. Kerrigan, grinning, charged at Wang Yunxiao, reaching him in an instant. His speed was impressive. Seeing Wang Yunxiao show no reaction, Kerrigan's smirk deepened, and he reached out to grab Wang Yunxiao's chest. He believed that if only his hand touched Wang Yunxiao's body, he would easily finish him off. Puff! The next moment, Kerrigan felt a chill in her chest as a terrifyingly large sword pierced her. His hand was only inches away from Wang Yunxiao. "This is your subordinate, idiot." Kerrigan faintly heard these sarcastic words before she completely lost consciousness. "Waste," Mephisto cursed angrily. "Stop playing around. Get rid of him. It's time for us to leave." Just as Wang Yunxiao was about to tease Mephisto a few more times, Selena's slightly impatient words rang in his ears. Okay." Wang Yunxiao shook his head with a hint of regret, and the blade of the God of War slashed out, severing Mephisto in two. "As I said before, this incarnation of Mephisto is really weak. Please add it to your collection, recommend it, and vote for it." Chapter 317 Mutation. In Wakanda, in Wang Yunxiao's dedicated training room, Wang Yunxiao and several other women were present, naturally to witness Selena's final transformation. "Dear, are you ready?" Wang Yunxiao asked solemnly. This question was as much a question to himself as it was to Selena. When the time came, Wang Yunxiao hesitated. Substituting demon blood for vampire or werewolf blood was ultimately just speculation, and he wasn't completely sure whether the outcome would be as he wished. A simple failure would be fine, but there was a fear that Selena's transformation would develop in an unpredictable direction, perhaps even endangering her life. "Let's begin." Selena, the person involved, showed no hesitation, her expression calm, ready to accept any outcome. She could see Wang Yunxiao's concern, but she felt that nothing in this world was foolproof. "Huh? Okay, let's begin." Wang Yunxiao let out a long, stagnant breath. The arrow was on the string, and he couldn't hold back any longer. He nodded emphatically. With a wave of his hand, Wang Yunxiao released Danny, the son of the demon, from his personal space. His eyes were still as dark as ink, eerie and cold. "Who are you? Where is this place?" Danny asked coldly. His tone lacked a trace of human emotion. Unfortunately, no one present paid any attention to Danny, their attention focused on Selena. Wasn't Wang Yunxiao's concern also theirs? As for Selena herself, she showed even less reaction. She stepped forward, grabbed Danny by the collar, and lifted him high into the air. "How dare you!" Danny's expression changed drastically, and he shouted fiercely. Clearly, he had a premonition that something bad was about to happen. Selena, however, ignored him and bit Danny's neck. Roar! Almost as soon as Selena bit him, Danny let out a roar like hell. His skin turned a fiery crimson, and a burning sensation spread. Even from several meters away, everyone could clearly sense the terrifying intensity of the heat, let alone Selena, who bore the brunt of it. As Selena's sharp zombie fangs pierced Danny's neck, the crimson on his skin quickly faded. After all, he was only the son of the devil, not Mephistopheles himself, much less a godlike being. How could he resist the onslaught of zombie blood? Even so, the women were terrified. It was clear that Danny had just unleashed hellfire. While they had never witnessed it firsthand, they had heard Wang Yunxiao and Selena mention its terrifying power more than once. As the blood in his body, along with the blood of the Lord of Hell, rapidly drained, Danny gradually regained consciousness. Though speechless, everyone could see in his eyes the innocence that only a child possesses, coupled with an instinctive fear of danger. While not heartless, they were certainly not pure-hearted either. Especially since Selena's future and safety were at stake, they felt no desire to stop him. Perhaps, a modicum of compassion existed, but that was all. Soon, Selena had drained all of his blood, and Danny was completely dead. However, at this moment, no one even glanced at Danny. Everyone's attention was focused on Selena, even their breathing paused. Roar! A high-pitched roar erupted from Selena's mouth, echoing across Wakanda, unable to be blocked even by the soundproofing of the training room. At the same time, Selena was undergoing a complete transformation from the inside out. Her blood-red pupils gave way to pure purple. Her dark hair gradually dyed a dark purple, and the scales on her bat wings grew more delicate and textured. Time ticked by, and Selena's transformation continued, showing no sign of stopping. Boom! Suddenly, a layer of purple flames ignited Selena's body, enveloping her in a blazing violet flame, like a female warrior bathed in purple flames. Furthermore, the purple flames were incredibly hot. Even from several meters away, even with their physical strength, they could clearly feel the waves of burning pain, forcing the women to retreat. Even Wang Yunxiao was stunned by the ultra-high temperature of the purple flames, as he could clearly see that the spatial energy wall surrounding him was beginning to melt. Success, but at this moment, both Wang Yunxiao and the other woman knew Selena had finally taken that crucial step, and they were sincerely happy for her. The purple flame gradually retreated into her body, the dragon-scale bat wings on her back also retracted, and her deep purple pupils returned to distinct black and white. Selena had returned to her human form, but her dark hair had not returned, remaining a dark purple, which gave her a unique charm. "Selena, how are you feeling now? Is there anything different after the transformation?" Everyone immediately gathered around, and Emma couldn't help but ask curiously. Selena smiled slightly, not rushing to answer. Instead, she extended her fair right hand, a purple flame swaying and dancing. With a slight wave of her hand, the purple flame shot out, instantly burning a thumb-sized hole through the solid alloy wall of the training room. Seeing this, everyone gasped. No one knew better than them how sturdy the walls of the training room were. They were forged from a superalloy, second only to lesser adamantium. Furthermore, through Selena's description, everyone learned that her physical fitness, super senses, and superb healing and regeneration abilities had surged to a terrifying level. In short, her overall strength was now almost as strong as Wang Yunxiao's. This made Selena surpass Selene in one fell swoop, making her the undisputed strongest of the women. Truly a mutant zombie, she was worthy of being compared to the Zombie King. At that moment, the women looked at Selena with envy. Then, when they turned their gazes to Wang Yunxiao, they turned to a burning and resentful look. What else could Wang Yunxiao do? He could only smile wryly. The women's future path to advancement was far from simple, and certainly not something that could be achieved in a short period of time. This is good. With Selena, a powerful person who is comparable to God, in charge, Wang Yunxiao can explore those unknown new planes without worrying about it. Even if he is tripped up by something, he doesn't need to worry too much about the safety here. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318, Hancock. This is another world? It's not that different. Emma curled her lips, looking at the bustling Los Angeles streets, her face lacking interest. Well, Wang Yunxiao, Selena, and Emma were now in a new dimension, one Wang Yunxiao had never set foot on. To avoid Selene constantly accusing him of breaking his promise, Wang Yunxiao had brought Selene along on this trip. Unexpectedly, Emma also clamored to come along, so Wang Yunxiao had no choice but to bring her along. But for safety's sake, Wang Yunxiao chose a slightly smaller nebula, rather than the one that rivaled even the size of the Marvel Universe. Why not choose a smaller nebula? Would that be safer? Truthfully, a world like Resident Evil offered little to no help in growing their power. Wang Yunxiao's exploration of new dimensions wasn't for sightseeing, his true purpose was to find opportunities for himself and his women to ascend to the zombie bloodline. This is a brand new world. We don't know much about it yet. We'll have to wait until Red Queen gathers information before we can say anything. Wang Yunxiao spread his hands and spoke frankly. Then what are we waiting for? Let's get moving. Hearing that even Wang Yunxiao didn't know the details of this world, Emma's interest immediately rekindled. She grabbed Wang Yunxiao and Selena and set off. Exploring the unknown, wouldn't that be fun? Wait a minute. At least tell us where you're taking us, Selene asked skeptically, grabbing Emma. Let's find a place to stay first, and then let Red Queen gather information about this world, Emma replied without hesitation. Wang Yunxiao and Selene exchanged a glance, finally feeling relieved. Emma seemed to be thinking clearly, not overwhelmed by excitement. Hey, what's with those faces? Let's get going. Emma glared at the two of them, then excitedly urged them on. Let's go. Selene shrugged, giving Wang Yunxiao a helpless look. She let Emma lead them as they searched for the nearest hotel. Wang Yunxiao, unfazed, quickly followed the two women. The three of them found a 5-star hotel and checked into the presidential suite on the top floor. As for proving their identities, with Red Queen around, that was easy. Brother Yunxiao, Sister Selene, I just found someone very interesting, Emma said mysteriously as they entered the room. Oh, Wang Yunxiao, and Selene's interest peaked. His name is Hancock. Surprisingly, Emma, no longer playing secretive, spoke excitedly. Who are you talking about? Wang Yunxiao was slightly startled, unable to resist confirming. Hancock. John Hancock. What's wrong? Emma glanced at Wang Yunxiao in confusion. Even Selene gave him a strange look. Nothing, I misheard. Go on, Wang Yunxiao shrugged, feigning a casual air. But her heart was already boiling with turmoil. She hadn't expected this new world to be the world of Hancock, the total Superman. This way, perhaps this trip would be worthwhile. After all, this world boasts two superhumans, one male and one female, and many are cosmic beings. So secretive, Emma glared at Wang Yunxiao in dissatisfaction. She could tell Wang Yunxiao seemed to know something, but since Wang Yunxiao wasn't willing to share, she considerately refrained from questioning. Where was I? Oh, right, his name is Hancock. He's actually a superhuman. Emma began to introduce Hancock again, but was stuck at the beginning. It's all your fault. Never mind, I can't explain it clearly right now. Let's just watch the news. Just a while ago, he did something big. Emma glared at Wang Yunxiao again, then turned on the TV in the living room. A scruffy black man suddenly appeared on the TV screen. He must be the Hancock Emma mentioned, helping the police to catch a group of armed bank robbers. However, the destructive power of the gang was far inferior to Hancock's. With his help, the gang was easily caught, but the situation became worse. The bank building was completely destroyed. This is Hancock's latest exploit, causing massive economic losses, initially estimated at $12 million. If that number is accurate, it's a new record for the notorious individual. Buildings damaged, bullets flying everywhere, plus floods and fires. It's safe to say Hancock has caused more damage than those criminals. If this guy weren't causing us trouble, Los Angeles would be a more harmonious place. He never cooperates with us, only blindly acting recklessly. Can we go somewhere else? Hancock, go to New York and make them suffer. This Hancock must have ulterior motives, trying to exploit our city for his own ulterior motives. Damn it, Emma switched channels again, all reporting on the incident. People from all sides were accusing Hancock of his despicable behavior. Even a high-ranking LAPD official was cursing in front of the TV, demonstrating his rage. Finally, Emma locked onto Los Angeles' largest television station, where a female professional was fiercely accusing Hancock of this. The law is the law. Mr. Hancock, you are not above the law. You've damaged public property to the tune of tens of millions, and the Los Angeles government has issued an arrest warrant for Hancock, Mr. Hancock, you're nothing but a selfish person. All you have is muscle, but no respect for others, Mr. Hancock, you're not above the law either. You haven't appeared in court for over 600 summonses. Anyone else would have been found in contempt of court long ago, but you're different. You have some skills, but I'm telling you, you can't defy the US Constitution. Try it. We won't allow it. Is this really Superman? Selene was stunned. Even in his eons of life, he'd never encountered such a bizarre person. Haha, Wang Yunxiao also had a lot of complaints to vent, but he didn't know where to begin, so he could only express them in these two words. Interesting, isn't it? Emma, on the other hand, was beaming with excitement, as if she'd discovered some truly fascinating toy. That's not all, there are so many more of his feats online. Immediately, Emma excitedly turned on the living room computer. 4 updates for today are here. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 319 Selene's Caution. Emma turned on the hotel computer and inserted a sleek, high-tech USB drive. The next moment, Red Queen appeared on the monitor. Red Queen, search for videos of Superman John Hancock, Emma ordered without hesitation. Yes, Miss Frost. The next moment, Red Queen completely took over the computer, and the monitor immediately began playing video after video of Hancock's bizarre exploits. A large group of children were queuing for ice cream at an ice cream truck. Hancock suddenly intruded, his clothes tattered, his butt exposed, and smoke pouring from his mouth. He dismissed the children and grabbed the cone from the truck, devouring it without hesitation. On the beach, a dying black whale lay stranded on the shore. Nearby tourists hurriedly fetched seawater and poured it over the whale to prevent it from dying of thirst. Suddenly, Hancock descended from the sky, brushing aside the tourists. He grabbed the black whale by the tail and flung it into the sea, capsizing a sailboat. While no one was injured, the already dying whale was not so lucky. Hancock's bizarre actions, displayed in every video, were astonishing and speechless. Emma was the only one watching with rapt interest, while Selene remained cautious. "He's very strong," Selene declared cautiously. While Hancock's actions in the videos were bizarre, Selene's discerning eyes could easily discern his formidable power. He possessed super strength, easily flinging a nearly 100-ton whale, super speed, easily outrunning a bullet, super defense, rendering even powerful firearms invulnerable, and flight, capable of reaching the speed of sound. These 4 attributes alone were enough to draw Selene's attention. And these were only the superpowers Hancock had displayed in the video recordings. She didn't even know if Hancock had any other abilities. If so, Hancock would undoubtedly be even more powerful. Of course. But the blood of the powerful is what helps your zombie bloodline advance, isn't it? Wang Yunxiao naturally didn't deny Hancock's strength, but her concern was clearly elsewhere. "Don't act rashly. We don't know yet whether he's just one person or a whole race," Selene warned sternly. If she hadn't suspected Wang Yunxiao of coveting Hancock's blood, Hancock's power wouldn't have mattered to her. "Don't worry, he's probably just a one-off. If someone like him were a whole race, Earth would be in a completely different place than we see it today," Wang Yunxiao said with a carefree smile. Even so, Wang Yunxiao knew full well that people like Hancock once truly did have entire races. However, because they repel each other, they can't live together for long, otherwise they'll become ordinary people. Yet, their instinctive attraction keeps drawing them together, leading to their near extinction. Now, besides Hancock, only Mary, the superwoman he once shared a life with, remains. 80 years ago, an accident left Hancock, now an ordinary person, severely injured and nearly dying, and he lost all his memories. This forced Mary to distance herself from him. But Wang Yunxiao's biggest concern now is whether Mary would intervene if he were to attack Hancock. He has no doubt that Mary still harbors feelings for Hancock. After all, they've lived together for thousands of years, and 80 years wouldn't erase that feeling. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao is certain that Mary must be living somewhere in Los Angeles as an ordinary person. Because neither she nor Hancock can resist the instinctive attraction. Her ability to suppress this instinct and avoid meeting Hancock is truly remarkable. But with Hancock's high-profile behavior, it was difficult for her to ignore him. "Don't be careless. Red Queen, search this world immediately to see if there are any Hancock's kind." Selene wasn't about to give up, and immediately ordered Red Queen to conduct a detailed investigation. Even if Hancock had his kind, they were unlikely to be as bizarre as him, and hiding their identities was the most likely scenario. However, Selene knew the ethics of the human government very well and would not miss the opportunity to conduct a special investigation into this matter. She believed that some secret departments of the human government would have more accurate information. "Yes, Ms. Galio," Red Queen immediately took action, fully infiltrating this world's network, not only collecting confidential information from various governments, but also rumors spread by ordinary people. However, this would not be something that could be done in a short period of time. Wang Yunxiao did not stop Selene's caution. To be honest, the original plot only mentioned Hancock and Mary, but he couldn't guarantee that there were no more of their kind. After all, it was once an entire tribe. What should we do next? We can't just sit there and wait, can we? Emma's eyes rolled slightly, and she was caught up in some strange scheme. Don't even think about it. You're absolutely not allowed to mess with that guy until the Red Queen has the results of her investigation. Selene had worked with Emma for a long time and knew her character very well. She refused without a second thought. I just want to see him from a distance. From a distance, I promise. Emma's face turned bitter when her thoughts were exposed, and she quickly said pitifully and coquettishly. No, Selene didn't buy it, and still refused sternly, leaving no room for negotiation. Brother Yunxiao, seeing that it was basically impossible to convince Selene, Emma set her sights on Wang Yunxiao. Selene didn't say much, but just looked at Wang Yunxiao with a half-smile, but her meaning was obvious. I haven't gone shopping with you guys for a long time, right? Why not take this time to give you some good time? Wang Yunxiao said this, trying to divert Emma's attention, but his heart was bleeding. He knew better than anyone what kind of torture and torment it would be to go shopping with a woman, or two women at that. HMPH. Brother Yunxiao, you will regret it. Although Emma swallowed the sugar coating offered by Wang Yunxiao, she had the intention of hitting the cannonball back. It's a big sacrifice. It's good this way. I hope you won't regret it then. Selene glanced at Wang Yunxiao and laughed meaningfully. Can I say that I regret it now? Wang Yunxiao's face was bitter, and he lamented in his heart. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 321st Meeting with Hancock. To appease Emma, Wang Yunxiao had to make a certain sacrifice, promising to spend the next few days shopping with her and Selene. Needless to say, Emma and Selene were far from polite to Wang Yunxiao, and for the next 3 days, Wang Yunxiao felt like he was living in dire straits. However, they had some sense and didn't drag Wang Yunxiao on shopping trips again, instead visiting some of Los Angeles' famous sites. It was rare for Wang Yunxiao to accompany the girls on such outings, which clearly reflected his remissness as a boyfriend. The girls, for once, were able to put aside their concerns about the Hellfire Club and the Mutant Eden Project, and enjoy themselves thoroughly. One wonders how Clarice and Elizabeth, now in the Marvel Universe, taking over the Hellfire Club and the Mutant Eden Project on their behalf, would react upon learning of this. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, more than half a month had passed. Finally, Red Queen's investigation yielded results, and the three of them had turned their joyful adventure. Over the past 2 weeks, Red Queen had hacked into nearly every national database, including some lesser-known, confidential ones. She had also sifted through every online hotspot of recent years, leaving no trace, even of localized, hot topics. The results of her search finally put the three of them at ease. Aside from John Hancock, it seemed there were no other similar individuals in the world. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that Hancock's counterparts were perfectly hidden, remaining undetected by governments or the public. Had Red Queen also found no information about Mary? Wang Yunxiao was well aware of this, but he wouldn't tell the two girls, lest they become suspicious and object to his plan to target Hancock. In that case, I'll go meet that Hancock today, Wang Yunxiao said decisively after hearing Red Queen's report. Okay, Emma was the first to jump out, loudly expressing her support. Speaking of which, if Selene hadn't stopped her, she would have gone to see Hancock firsthand. That's fine with me, Selene shrugged, not really having any objections. She'd previously stopped Wang Yunxiao from going after Hancock outright because she was worried about the existence of someone like him. Now that those concerns had been dispelled by Red Queen's investigation, she naturally had no reason to stop him. Ultimately, wasn't Wang Yunxiao's intent on going after Hancock all for them? That's why, even if someone like Hancock really existed, Selene wouldn't have stopped Wang Yunxiao from going after him. She would have planned more carefully, rather than just rushing in like she was doing now. The three of them immediately left the hotel and headed straight for the Coast Mountains, just outside Los Angeles. Hancock settled there, alone, far from the people who loathed him. On a vacant lot in the Coast Mountains, overlooking the Pacific Ocean, a simple house constructed from 3 newspaper vans became Hancock's home. The furniture and fixtures were even more shabby and dingy than anything sold at a flea market. It must be said that for a superhuman, his life was truly miserable. Today, Wang Yunxiao, Selene, and Emma, 3 uninvited guests, had arrived. It was unclear whether Hancock, the host, would welcome them. Coincidentally, Hancock wasn't out making trouble at the moment. He was reclining on a worn sofa, basking in the sun. From a distance, his pungent scent of alcohol was palpable, clearly indicating another bout of intoxication. Who are you? Despite his hangover, Hancock remained alert and immediately noticed Wang Yunxiao and the others. Of course, this was because the 3 of them hadn't concealed their intentions. Are you the jerk with all the muscle but a selfish, disrespectful arse? Emma asked excitedly before Wang Yunxiao could say anything, her eyes constantly scanning the slovenly Hancock. At the word asshole from Emma's mouth, Wang Yunxiao's smile faltered, and he became wary, fearing Hancock might suddenly attack. He knew full well that the word asshole was Hancock's pet peeve, a surefire way to provoke him. As for whether Hancock would assault a woman, with Hancock's wicked personality, what was he incapable of doing? What did you say? As expected, at the word asshole, Hancock's face lost all trace of drunkenness, and he stared at Emma intently, his expression unsmiling. but the look in his eyes revealed that his expression was anything but friendly. What's wrong? Was I wrong? Wasn't that what the news said yesterday? Emma feigned surprise. But at the same time, her guard was raised. With her super senses, she easily detected Hancock's underlying hostility. Selene, likewise, watched Hancock with equal vigilance, ready to strike at any moment. If you're looking for trouble, I wouldn't mind shoving it into your ass, big sister, Hancock said with a wry smile. Big sister? You damned bastard. You're the big sister, your whole family is. Emma was immediately enraged, jumping up and down and cursing loudly. But it seemed that her focus was a little off. Well, you've succeeded in enraging me. As she spoke, Hancock's empty bottle shot towards Emma like a cannonball. With such speed, Emma had no time to react. There was nothing she could do, her close combat abilities were so ordinary. But she wasn't worried at all, not even revealing her diamond form. She knew Wang Yunxiao wouldn't sit idly by and watch her get hit by the empty bottle. Sure enough, Emma's vision blurred before she saw a steady, powerful hand reach out and firmly grasp the empty bottle, not even breaking it in the slightest. Asshole, you actually hit a woman? You're a damned asshole. All the while, Emma's curses never ceased, even growing more intense. Bang! The sofa beneath Hancock's butt exploded into shattered pieces, a massive crater carved into the ground. He hurtled towards Emma at a speed faster than the empty bottle itself. Wang Yunxiao's display of skill should have been enough to draw Hancock's attention, but he was completely enraged by Emma and couldn't care less. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 321 Carbon Sodium Steel shows its power. Bang! With a dull thud, Wang Yunxiao and Hancock collided heavily. Even with Wang Yunxiao's immense strength, he took a heavy blow, being sent flying by Hancock. So strong, Emma couldn't help but exclaim. If it weren't for Selene's quick eyes and hands, even she would have been spared. Yes, he's truly strong, especially in terms of strength, Selene said in a hushed tone, her eyes fixed on the swift Wang Yunxiao and Hancock. She had assumed that since Wang Yunxiao's ascension to the Zombie King, no one would ever surpass him in strength, speed, and other physical attributes, but she hadn't expected to witness one today. Of course, she knew this was because Wang Yunxiao hadn't yet transformed into the Zombie King. It simply meant that Selene's experience was limited. Even after thousands of years, she had never seen a true abnormality. Let's not even talk about the distant past. Just take Bruce Banner, the Hulk, who was about to be transformed by gamma-ray experiments. When his rage reached a certain level, his strength and other aspects would undoubtedly be no less than Wang Yunxiao's. Bang! Pinned down by Hancock, Wang Yunxiao slammed heavily into the sea, stirring up a massive wave. Bang! Immediately, Hancock soared from the depths of the ocean, hovering in the air, silently gazing at the calm surface. He could clearly sense that his previous attack had caused no substantial damage to Wang Yunxiao. Roar! Amidst the churning waves, Wang Yunxiao stood tall above the surface, roaring in anger. Hancock's actions had completely infuriated him, not for himself, but for Emma. If that attack had struck Emma firmly, even if she had transformed into diamond form in time, she would have been injured. An angry roar echoed through the sky, and Wang Yunxiao underwent a drastic transformation. Sharp zombie fangs, blood-red pupils, and a pair of vast dragon wings spread from his back. What kind of monster is this? Hancock muttered, a flicker of shock in his eyes. Having forgotten his past, he naturally couldn't recognize zombies, creatures that existed only in ancient Eastern legends. With a slight flap of his wings, Wang Yunxiao shot towards Hancock in mid-air like a bolt of human lightning. Hancock, despite his contempt, showed no sign of weakness and charged head-on into Wang Yunxiao. Bang! With a resounding, earth-shattering roar, Wang Yunxiao and Hancock collided once again, twisting and shattering the air. However, this time, the two were evenly matched. Wang Yunxiao, transformed into the Zombie King, was no less powerful than Hancock. Bang! 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 Fists and kicks clashed fiercely. In just a few breaths, the two had exchanged over 100 blows. Bang! Another muffled thud, and Hancock was hurled into the deep sea like a cannonball, sending up waves all over the sky. While Hancock's fighting instincts were strong, he had long lost the techniques and experience cultivated over millennia. Over the years, he had only dealt with minor figures. How could he possibly be a match for Wang Yunxiao in close combat? However, Wang Yunxiao knew that with Hancock's superior defense, Even if his previous attack had inflicted some damage, it would have been extremely limited. Furthermore, his superb healing abilities were equally impressive. Bang! The waves rolled, and Hancock soared into the sky once again, hurtling towards Wang Yunxiao. Wang Yunxiao, undeterred, met his blow head-on. Bang! The two collided heavily once again evenly matched. However, this time, Hancock had learned his lesson and didn't engage Wang Yunxiao in close combat. After a brief contact, he retreated at an even faster pace. Once he'd retreated a certain distance, he charged at Wang Yunxiao once more. Clearly, Hancock was attempting to overpower Wang Yunxiao head-on with his immense strength, but he didn't consider whether Wang Yunxiao's immense strength would be any less impressive than his. Naive, Wang Yunxiao sneered disdainfully, charging forward once again, intent on playing along with Hancock. Boom, 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 and so, a series of deafening explosions echoed through the sky, as Wang Yunxiao and Hancock collided violently like two miniature comets. Exhilarating. It truly is exhilarating. Ho ha ho ha, Wang Yunxiao laughed heartily. Not since his ascension to the Zombie King had he experienced such a satisfying battle. However, considering that Superwoman Mary might have noticed the battle, Wang Yunxiao, unwilling to continue his frolic with Hancock, averted any further complications. He suddenly vanished from his position, preventing Hancock's intended attack from reaching him. The next moment, Wang Yunxiao flashed to Hancock's side, the war god's blade suddenly appearing in his hand. With a whistling sound, he slashed towards Hancock. Puff, blood splattered. Hancock had completely unprepared for Wang Yunxiao's potential, and, driven by his habitual thinking, was struck hard by the war god's blade. Hancock, however, didn't take it too seriously. With his super healing ability, such an injury would heal in a matter of seconds. However, what happened next shocked Hancock. He clearly realized that the wound on his arm was healing at a snail's pace. Unbeknownst to him, the blade of the god of war in Wang Yunxiao's hand was fortified with carbon-sodium steel. Carbon-sodium steel, while otherwise unremarkable and far inferior to adamantium and vibranium, could suppress super healing and regeneration factors, effectively nemesis for those possessing these abilities, such as Hancock. Swish, 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 Wang Yunxiao naturally paid no attention to Hancock's thoughts. The blade of the god of war slashed relentlessly, scattering a piercing cold light across the sky. Hancock tried desperately to dodge, but he dared not take the blow head-on, leaving him in a state of extreme distress. It wasn't that he didn't want to use his super speed and flight to escape Wang Yunxiao's close quarters attacks, but Wang Yunxiao always appeared at his side in an instant, rendering all his struggles futile. However, despite Hancock's precarious condition, Wang Yunxiao's quick dispatch was nearly impossible. His super defense was simply too abnormal. Even with the sharp edge of the god of war blade, it could only leave shallow wounds on him. But Wang Yunxiao wasn't anxious. While Hancock's super defense was abnormal, his super healing abilities were severely suppressed. With enough wounds, he would inevitably bleed to death. Of course, Wang Yunxiao wouldn't actually kill Hancock, but if Hancock lost enough blood, his brain would be deprived of oxygen and fall into coma. 4 updates for today. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 322 Mary's Anger. Hancock felt dizzy from the blood loss, and then, unable to maintain his airborne position, he plunged headfirst into the turbulent sea. Hancock's body was now a bloody mess, covered in scars and wounds, looking hideous, as if he had just been through 1,000 cuts. However, with his extraordinary healing ability, without the restraint of the carbon-sodium steel, he would likely be back to normal in no time. In a flash, Wang Yunxiao had the unconscious Hancock firmly in his grasp. He didn't want to go down to the sea again to search for Hancock, as who knew where he might be swept away by the turbulent undercurrent? Let him go. Just as Wang Yunxiao flew back to Selene and Emma's huts, a sharp shout approached, followed by a slender figure. Needless to say, it was the superwoman Wang Yunxiao was most worried about, Mary. For a moment, Selene and Emma's gazes were fixed on Mary, their eyes filled with vigilance and alertness. "Is he your friend?" Wang Yunxiao asked with a half-smile, but his heart was on high alert. He knew full well that Mary was even more powerful than Hancock. "Let him go," Mary, unwilling to waste any more time with Wang Yunxiao, shouted coldly. "I'm sorry, your friend is so rude. I think he needs a lesson." Wang Yunxiao shrugged and casually threw Hancock towards the two women. Mary's eyes narrowed, and she rushed towards Hancock. But she was forced to stop immediately, as Wang Yunxiao had already firmly blocked her way, unless she wanted to have a close-range collision with him like Hancock had. Bang! Hancock slammed heavily in front of Selene and Emma. Bang! 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 Along with Hancock, dozens of containers crafted from special materials and Wang Yunxiao's blade of the God of War fell, instantly making the two women understand Wang Yunxiao's intention. And why? To draw blood. But just looking at those dozen containers, how long would that take? Hancock would likely be a blood cow for the next few days. As for the blade of the God of War, it was just a precaution, allowing the two women to restrain Hancock. You deserve to die. Although she didn't know Wang Yunxiao's exact purpose, Mary knew it couldn't be good, and she couldn't help but be furious. However, before Mary could make a move, she saw Wang Yunxiao charging towards her at full speed, poised for a close-quarters collision. Startled, Mary quickly dodged, but Wang Yunxiao's speed and agility were too great, and he still slammed into her arms. Bang! With a resounding muffled sound, Wang Yunxiao, holding Mary's body tightly, charged towards the distant horizon where the water met the sky. It would be best if she didn't witness what the two women were about to do to Hancock, lest she completely rage. However, Wang Yunxiao didn't consider that his actions would undoubtedly infuriate Mary. At that moment, Mary felt a powerful masculine aura assault her, causing her mind to go blank, having not experienced male sexual stimulation in nearly 80 years. But then, a raging rage erupted within her. She gripped Wang Yunxiao's ribs tightly and flung him away. Even then, Wang Yunxiao didn't let go of Mary's curvaceous body, dragging her along with him. Bang! 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 The next moment, the two of them crashed heavily onto the sea, tumbling across the surface for an incalculable distance, stirring up massive waves. Let go, Mary shouted coldly. Her voice grew even colder, like unmelted ice. Impossible, Wang Yunxiao replied without hesitation. His only task now was to pin Mary down here, buying Selene and Emma enough time. As for defeating Mary in a single blow, as he had done with Hancock, Wang Yunxiao had no confidence. Not only was her strength superior to Hancock's, but more importantly, unlike Hancock, who had lost his memories, she possessed no shortage of combat techniques or experience. Then die. Mary's tone was unfazed, her fists raised high, and she slammed them hard into Wang Yunxiao's ribs. Swish! The next moment, Mary felt a void before her. No sign of Wang Yunxiao. Yet, the force she had poured into her fists was effortlessly retracted. This demonstrated that Mary's control over her own strength had already reached a state of unwavering control. This alone made her infinitely superior to Hancock. That guy was still at the beginner stage, barely even treading on the ground, just trying to exert force. However, before Mary could even trace Wang Yunxiao, she suddenly felt a tightness around her waist, and then she was tumbling up and down, slamming heavily into the sea. Plop! Another huge wave surged up, and both Wang Yunxiao and Mary were plunging into the deep sea. The wave surged, and the two fought fiercely in the depths. After an unknown amount of time, they finally broke through. Bastard, Mary cursed, but she didn't want to fight Wang Yunxiao any longer and was about to take off. The previous exchange had made it clear to her that Wang Yunxiao's strength was not much inferior to hers, and that defeating him quickly was practically impossible. But rather than teaching Wang Yunxiao a lesson, she was more concerned with rescuing Hancock. However, just as Mary had broken through the sea, she felt a tightness around her waist, and she was slammed back down to the surface, even deeper into the depths. The two battled in the deep sea for an unknown amount of time before both emerged from the water. This, perhaps shameless, method was the simplest and most effective way for Wang Yunxiao to keep Mary here. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao wasn't at a disadvantage. Mary was in excellent physical condition. To buy Selene and Emma enough time, Wang Yunxiao had already prepared for a long battle. As for Mary, she cursed bastard repeatedly, but she knew clearly that she couldn't leave unless she completely defeated Wang Yunxiao. Wang Yunxiao finally understood why Hancock was so averse to the word bastard, and Mary? If I remembered correctly, she also hated the word madman. Was that the reason? In the coast mountains, outside Hancock's home, Selene and Emma had already taken action, and Hancock's hard-working life as a blood cow had officially begun. Fortunately for Hancock, he has already lost consciousness and has no idea what role he is playing. 4 updates are available today. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 323 Mary Goes Mad. Chapter 5, Mary's Outrage. Hancock not only didn't know the fate of his blood cow, now, but he also wouldn't know it later. The reason was simple. With Selene and Emma, two masters of the spiritual and psychic realm, Hancock wouldn't be able to regain consciousness even if he tried. Furthermore, they would later erase Hancock's memories, leaving him completely unaware of Wang Yunxiao and their existence. This meant that Wang Yunxiao's leaving the blade of the god of war to the two women was completely unnecessary, and wouldn't have put him in such a vulnerable position. Indeed, Wang Yunxiao's current situation was extremely vulnerable. Raging winds, torrential rain, thunder, lightning. Mary's outrage was undoubtedly terrifying. Over the vast ocean, dark clouds loomed overhead, muffled thunder rumbled, and occasional streaks of lightning struck. Huge tornadoes churned up turbulent waves, as if the world was about to end. Looking at Mary, shrouded in lightning, Wang Yunxiao could only smile wryly. He couldn't just forcibly keep Mary here, as he had done before. If Mary's sole purpose was to defeat Wang Yunxiao, he wouldn't have worried too much. He was concerned that she would harness the might of heaven and earth and descend directly upon Hancock, putting him in a desperate position. Asshole. Die. Fortunately, Mary was now completely enraged by Wang Yunxiao. With a furious roar, bolts of lightning, like serpentine snakes, struck Wang Yunxiao's head. But even this alone proved insufficient to faze Wang Yunxiao. The bolts pierced his body without causing any harm. This was undoubtedly due to his quick flash. Seeing this, Mary was slightly startled, but she wouldn't give up. With a wave of her hand, the tornado swept towards Wang Yunxiao once again. Even in the other dimension, Wang Yunxiao could clearly feel the violent tearing force in the air, but he didn't want to confront such a powerful force head-on. With another flash of his flash, he left the scene. Damn special ability, Mary cursed bitterly. With her vast experience, it would be strange if she still didn't recognize Wang Yunxiao's special abilities. For a moment, the two remained in a stalemate, neither able to intervene. But there was one thing: if this stalemate continued, Mary would inevitably give up first. This was because Wang Yunxiao had another identity, the host of the space gem, possessing an infinite amount of special energy. Moreover, even if Mary could hold out, what would it matter? Wang Yunxiao's original intention was to keep her here, buying Selene and Emma enough time. Unfortunately, Mary hadn't forgotten her ultimate goal. Seeing she couldn't teach Wang Yunxiao a lesson, although she felt resigned, she abandoned the stalemate and harnessed the might of the universe to rescue Hancock. At that moment, Wang Yunxiao's greatest fear came true. Of course, Wang Yunxiao wouldn't just sit there and watch Mary leave. He gritted his teeth and instantly blocked her path. Mary, however, didn't even glance at Wang Yunxiao, completely ignoring him as she continued on her own. She wanted to see how Wang Yunxiao would stop her. Crazy bitch. Wang Yunxiao took a deep breath and slowly uttered those three words. It turned out to be quite effective. Mary froze in her tracks, glaring at Wang Yunxiao without blinking, the rage in her eyes threatening to burst forth. What did you say? Mary asked. Her voice so piercing that Wang Yunxiao felt as if the air around them had dropped several degrees. Crazy bitch. If you've got the guts, don't leave. Despite this, Wang Yunxiao secretly breathed a sigh of relief, the corners of his mouth curling up slightly in a provocative arc. Mary panted heavily, as if trying to calm herself down. Unfortunately, this had little effect, primarily because Wang Yunxiao grew increasingly brazen, calling her crazy bitch with unbridled glee. Crazy bitch, can you please tell me what your relationship is with that rude person? Overjoyed, Wang Yunxiao lost himself in thought. Not good. The words had barely escaped his lips when Wang Yunxiao grumbled, a warning to Mary. Hancock. As expected, Mary muttered the name repeatedly under her breath, gradually recovering from her fury. After giving Wang Yunxiao a cold glare, she continued on her way. What an idiot I am. Watching Mary approach, Wang Yunxiao felt like slapping himself. However, no matter how much he agonized, it was useless. The most important thing now was to stop Mary. Gritting his teeth, he vanished from the scene. Where are you going, crazy woman? Mary immediately raised her guard, but the next moment, she felt a tightness around her waist and a voice that made her grit her teeth. Meanwhile, Wang Yunxiao was also feeling unbearably uncomfortable. Mary didn't even need to do anything. The lightning swirling around her alone made her hair stand on end, and she felt a mixture of pain and pleasure. The pain was self-evident. Anyone struck by continuous lightning wouldn't feel pleasant. But Wang Yunxiao strangely experienced this sensation. It was then that he discovered how intensely sensitive the constant shocks made his body. Combined with Mary's curvaceous figure, the sensation was indescribable. Asshole! Let me go! Mary seemed to hear Wang Yunxiao's inner thoughts, and her pretty face flushed slightly. Then, with uncontrollable rage, she struggled violently, trying to throw Wang Yunxiao away. Unfortunately, Wang Yunxiao's arms felt like iron hoops, and no matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't free them. Bastard! I'll kill you, Mary cursed furiously, unleashing the lightning that swirled around her with all her might. At that moment, Wang Yunxiao felt no joy left, and a deafening scream erupted from his lips. It wasn't that Wang Yunxiao didn't want to shield himself with special energy, but the lightning swirling around Mary was too violent, easily shredding his special energy. Wang Yunxiao wasn't terribly surprised by this outcome. He had a premonition of this happening when the tornado approached him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so entangled, and would have used his special abilities to dispel the might of the universe Mary was controlling. Ultimately, the laws of the universe differ in every dimension. While the Space Stone in the Marvel Universe is one of the most powerful treasures, it would inevitably be suppressed to a certain extent in another dimension. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao was merely the Space Stone's host. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 324 Seleni's Inner Demon. Roar. The excruciating pain forced Wang Yunxiao to roar to the heavens, his entire body instantly covered in a dense layer of scales. This was the first time he unleashed his full zombie form, his strength, speed, agility, and especially his defense, all reaching terrifying heights. As the pain eased, Wang Yunxiao exerted his strength with both arms, firmly grasping Mary's slender waist, and slammed them together into the surging sea. Bang! Just like before, the two of them sank deep into the ocean. However, Wang Yunxiao had forgotten that seawater is conductive. Crackle! Instantly, the lightning swirling around Mary spread rapidly, intensifying in violence, enveloping the area for miles in a purgatory of lightning. The excruciating pain forced Wang Yunxiao to instinctively let go of Mary, wanting only to escape this inferno. But then, he was surprised to discover that Mary, trapped in this inferno, seemed equally miserable. Mary's eyes were wide, streaked with bloodshot, and her body was twitching uncontrollably, as if in intense pain. It seemed her control over and immunity to lightning had a limit, and now, trapped in this lightning purgatory, she was already on the verge of exceeding it. Indeed, Mary felt utterly awful. The intense pain was secondary. More importantly, she was horrified to discover that the lightning swirling around her had begun to lose her control, attacking her without distinguishing friend from foe. This was a terrible situation she had never encountered before. The next moment, the two of them abandoned their fighting and, in tacit understanding, darted towards the sea. Plop! Plop! Their figures simultaneously leaped out of the water, fleeing far from the lightning purgatory. Hoo! They panted heavily, trying to ease the excruciating pain in their bodies, but neither Wang Yunxiao nor Mary took their eyes off each other. Asshole! Damn it! What the hell are you doing? Mary demanded angrily, a flash of fear in her blazing eyes. Nothing much, I just wanted to sit down with you and enjoy this beautiful scenery. Isn't that romantic? Wang Yunxiao laughed happily, even unable to resist his habitual ramblings. Simply because, at this moment, he was finally sure he could keep Mary here for good. Asshole! Go to hell! Mary, enraged once more, charged towards Wang Yunxiao, lightning swirling around her. Why bother? Wang Yunxiao shrugged, muttered under his breath, and immediately swung his fist to meet a blow. Bang! 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 In mid-air, a female warrior covered in lightning fiercely clashed with a monster with wings and dense scales on its back. What a scene of Beauty and the Beast! Knowing it was impossible to escape Wang Yunxiao's entanglement, Mary simply stopped thinking about it. She was now focused on teaching the despicable bastard a lesson to calm her anger. Wang Yunxiao was naturally happy to keep her company, no matter how long it took. Fighting with a beautiful woman was a delightful experience, wasn't it? But Wang Yunxiao had to admit, Mary's strength was truly immense. Even in her full zombie king form, defeating her would be difficult. Whether in physical strength, speed, agility, or combat techniques and experience, or even supernatural abilities, Mary was no match for him. As time went on, The battle between the two showed no sign of stopping, it intensified. Yet, intentionally or unintentionally, they were both moving away from the surface of the deep sea. That feeling had been enough once, and neither wanted to experience it a second time. Sister Selene, why hasn't Brother Yunxiao returned yet? What should we do now? Emma asked worriedly, kicking the unconscious Hancock in anger. You know, she's incredibly vindictive, and even now, she still can't get over how that bastard nearly hurt her that day. 3 days have passed since Wang Yunxiao took Mary, who had appeared out of nowhere, away, and those dozen special containers are already filled with Hancock's blood. It must be said that this guy is quite competent as a blood cow. Without the restraint of carbon sodium steel, his self-healing ability is truly terrifying. However, under the combined efforts of Selene and Emma, Hancock could only obediently complete his blood cow mission, never regaining consciousness. Wait a little longer. With our current strength, we can hardly intervene in a battle of that magnitude, Selene sighed softly, gazing towards the direction where Wang Yunxiao and Mary were fiercely engaged. Although they were a great distance away, her immense mental power could still clearly sense the intensity of the battle there. It was precisely because of this that, at that moment, Selene's determination to become stronger was more intense than ever. Not only was she challenged twice by Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, and then Mary, but more importantly, she also harbored a unique pride. How could she accept being repeatedly overtaken, or even surpassed, by the other women? Selene was the strongest of the group. Even Selena, who had advanced to the second generation, was still slightly behind. But once Selena completed her transformation, she had already left her far behind. And with Ada Wong, she believed that with Wang Yunxiao's support, she might also complete her transformation in no time. Surpassing her would be a natural progression. How could she not accept this? If that were all, Selena knew clearly that with Hancock's blood, upon returning to the Marvel Universe, the 4 women like Rain, Best, Clarice, and Elizabeth would likely successfully ascend to the second generation, while she and Emma, considering their future, would have to remain in the third generation for an unknown period of time. While the 4 women, after their advancement to second generation zombies, couldn't instantly surpass Selene's overall strength, they were at least catching up. This was easily evident from Lilith, who had already reached the second generation zombie stage. Thinking of this, Selene unconsciously withdrew her gaze, resting it on the dozen or so special containers. Sister Selene, what are you thinking about? Could it be? Emma, who had been observing Selene's expression and behavior, whispered upon seeing this. Earlier, Emma had noticed something was amiss with Selene, as if she were caught up in her own inner demons. She had worked with Selene for a long time at the Hellfire Club and knew that, due to her training in the dark arts, Selene was prone to inner demons. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 325 The Curiosity of the Two Girls. Sister Selene, don't do anything foolish. Brother Yunxiao said that if we want to go further in the future, we can't be greedy for quick improvements. Seeing Selene trapped in her own inner demons, Emma was anxious and quickly tried to persuade her. Thank you, Emma. Selene's body trembled slightly, but she had finally freed herself from her inner demons. A bright smile once again graced her face, and she sincerely thanked Emma. Huh? What are you doing? Did something happen that I'm not aware of? Before Emma could say anything, Wang Yunxiao's slightly cynical words echoed in the 2 women's ears. He sounded cheerful, but his tone and expression couldn't hide his fatigue. This was not surprising. Wang Yunxiao and Mary had fought fiercely for 3 days and 3 nights. Even with tireless physical effort and constant concentration, it was definitely not something that ordinary people could endure. In the end, the 2 still couldn't decide the winner. It must be said that Mary was truly formidable, not only in her fighting ability, but also in her iron will. Nothing, for some reason, Selene felt a pang of guilt, like a child who had done something wrong, and she quickly replied in a slightly flustered manner. Huh? Wang Yunxiao was startled by this. He hadn't taken it seriously before, but now he felt compelled to take it seriously. How are you? Did you take care of that woman? Selene cursed herself, idiot. Knowing she'd been too obvious, she quickly changed the subject and asked with concern. Yes, Brother Yunxiao, what about that woman? Who is she? Emma was also trying to cover up Selene's confusion. Her name is Mary, and she's from Hancock's tribe. But she's very strong, far beyond Hancock's reach. Wang Yunxiao had no choice but to keep the incident in mind for the time being. Now wasn't the time to dwell on it, and his expression grew serious as he mentioned Mary. I didn't expect he actually has a tribe. Seleni's face darkened, and she sighed cautiously. Okay, now is not the time to talk about this. She's about to catch up. Let's get out of here first. Without waiting for the two women to ask, Wang Yunxiao waved his hand and stored the dozen or so special containers into his personal space. He then pulled the two women up and vanished in an instant. Damn bastard! Shortly after the three of them left, Mary swooped in from the distant horizon, her face livid and her tongue lashing out with curses. Seeing Hancock lying there alone, Mary no longer cared about where Wang Yunxiao had fled to. She hurried to Hancock's side and carefully checked on him. After a long pause, seeing that Hancock, despite being unconscious, showed no signs of discomfort, Mary breathed a sigh of relief, feeling completely relieved. What on earth is that bastard up to? Then, Mary began to wonder about Wang Yunxiao's motives. Could he really just be bored? This ridiculous thought had barely occurred to her before she slammed it out of her head. She firmly believed Wang Yunxiao had some hidden agenda. Undoubtedly, even with this initial encounter, Wang Yunxiao had already left a deeply negative impression on Mary. After a complex, deep look at the unconscious Hancock, Mary soared into the sky without a second thought, vanishing into the distant horizon. Whatever it is, I'll tell you when I wake up. Returning to the hotel's presidential suite, Wang Yunxiao threw himself onto the bed and fell into deep sleep in the blink of an eye. Selene and Emma exchanged a glance. Though filled with questions, they decided not to disturb Wang Yunxiao and quietly left the bedroom. Sister Selene, should we do something? Emma asked hesitantly as they entered the living room. Let Red Queen look up the details of that woman first. After a moment's deliberation, Selene decided to gather as much information as possible about Mary before making any further arrangements. Naturally, Emma had no objection and immediately set out with Selene. Although the name Mary was common, with countless people bearing it across Los Angeles, Red Queen's rapid investigation quickly enabled the two women to gather basic information about her. Unfortunately, the information Red Queen had found online about Mary was limited, revealing nothing unusual about her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have missed her earlier. Her profile revealed Mary to be just an ordinary person, working as a salesperson in the infant and toddler products section of a Walmart supermarket chain, leading a normal 9-to-5 routine. Clearly, Mary's information had been tampered with. The two women weren't surprised, however. With Mary's strength, wouldn't such a feat be easy? What puzzled them was that, with such immense power, Mary was truly content to remain an ordinary person. Sister Selene, should we? Emma's eyes shifted slightly, and she hesitated before proposing. Selene remained silent, her expression uncertain, clearly undecided. Let's just observe her from a distance and confirm. There shouldn't be any problems, right? Besides, we haven't done anything to Hancock, nor do we have any deep-seated grudges against her. Seeing Selene's tentativeness, Emma urged her again. It turned out Emma actually wanted to meet Mary. Well, she was always bold and curious, so it wasn't surprising she'd have such a thought. Alright, let's go meet her. Selene finally made up her mind and agreed to Emma's almost crazy decision. She was also deeply curious about what kind of person Mary was. More importantly, besides Captain Marvel Carol Danvers and the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, Mary was the third woman she feared, so naturally, she wanted to get more specific information about her. That's good, Emma cheered, pulling Selene with her and heading out. Before leaving, the two women put up a do not disturb sign to prevent the hotel's room service staff from disturbing Wang Yunxiao's rest and disrupting their plan. As for why the two women weren't worried at all about leaving Wang Yunxiao alone in the hotel, was there any danger? No kidding. With Wang Yunxiao's alertness, even if you were soundly asleep, he would be instantly awakened by the approach of an outsider. It's hard to imagine how Mary would react to the two women he had just rashly approached after Wang Yunxiao had done such a shameless thing to her. Unfortunately, the two women were unaware of this. Their curiosity preoccupied them. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.